3/4 of a century, they have been the Bronx Bombers. From one generation to the next, the long ball has been their trademark. But this year in the Bronx, the story has been pitching. In this year of the hitter, effective starters and a dominating bullpen took the Yankees to the title in the American League East. That and the all-round play of a center fielder just entering his prime. A center fielder who might be the best to play the position in the Bronx since Mantle. The Baltimore Orioles couldn't catch the Yankees during the regular season, but now they're back in the Bronx with a clean slate. This fearsome flock of birds smacked 257 home runs, smashing the record set by the 61 Yanks of Maris and Mantle. Brady Anderson led the way with 50. The wild card birds have Cal Ripken savoring his first postseason in 13 years. And of course, there's Roberto Alomar in the headlines these days for reasons both horrific and heroic. The LCS is next.
NBC Sports presents the American League Championship Series. Today, Game 1, the Baltimore Orioles versus the New York Yankees.
Some truly ugly weather in New York forced postponement of Game 1 scheduled for last night. But not only has the weather cleared, it has turned up absolutely gorgeous. This is reminiscent of all those old fall classic October afternoons when the Yankees seem to play in the World Series every year. There is nothing not to like about this. With day games scheduled for each of the next 2 afternoons, games 1 and 2, in the Bronx, the Yankees and the Orioles going at it with the pennant at stake. Welcome to Yankee Stadium, everybody. Bob Costas along with Hall of Famer Joe Morgan and, of course, Mr. Baseball, Bob Uecker. What the Orioles could not do during the regular season regarding the Yankees, the wild card format did for them. It gave them a second chance. They upset the Indians in the first round. Now here they are. Forget about all the past history. Forget the fact they couldn't catch them over 162 or that they lost 10 of 13 to the Yankees head-to-head. Now it's best out of 7 for a trip to the World Series. What are the keys?
Well, this should be a classic matchup, Bob, between the Yankees pitching, their defense, and their aggressive base running versus the power of the Baltimore Orioles along with their pitching. The Orioles set a Major League record this season by hitting over 257 home runs, which is a Major League record. The Yankees, on the other hand, allowed the fewest number of home runs in the American League, 143. In both the American League and the National League playoffs so far, the big story has been pitching. I don't expect this to be any different. So I think it's imperative that Andy Pettitte gets off to a great start tonight and sets the tone for this entire Yankee pitching staff by being able to keep the Baltimore Orioles in the ballpark.
In fact, in the 13 games against the Yankees, the Orioles were limited to just 12 home runs, well beneath their usual pace. The Yankees out-homered them head-to-head, 16-12. Uke, what about the pitchers?
Well, it's Andy Pettitte, the Yankees' 21-game winner tonight. He is one of those guys, Bob, that has problems when he works more than four days. He's working on 6 days rest. He did it against the Texas Rangers. Really had control problems. Today, 6 days rest again. He's never been beaten, though, by the Baltimore Orioles. He's 3-0 this year against Baltimore. On the other side, you've got Scott Erickson, right-hander with a very good sinker, very good slider, 0-2 against New York this year, but he's pitched very well against the Yankees, and in his career is 5-4.
Besides the battle for the pennant, there's an obvious subplot. There's no getting away from it, and that's the situation regarding Roberto Alomar. Moments ago, as Bob Shepard, the PA announcer, brought the lineup out onto the field, this was the reaction to the New York fans to the announcement of Alomar.
At second base, number 12, Roberto Alomar. At first base, number 25.
Resounding boos, but nothing more than that, and we'll keep an eye on it throughout the series. Of course, see what the reaction is. Alomar bats third in the top of the first. We'll be back with the first pitch after.
Number 9.
24-year-old Andy Pettitte, Cy Young candidate with a record of 21-8, facing the lineup that launched 257 home runs in the regular season, and then 9 more in the 4-game upset of the Cleveland Indians in the division series. Brady Anderson with 50 at the top of that lineup, and he hit 12 of them beginning the game. That broke Bobby Bonds' 1973 record of 11 leadoff home runs. And he did it to Charles Nagy of the Indians in the bottom of the first at Camden Yards in Game 1 of the division series. As Bob Uecker told you, Pettit was 3-0 this year against the Orioles. He's 5-0 lifetime in his 2 big league seasons. Anderson takes a strike. Larry Barnett is the plate umpire and crew chief. Dale Scott at first. Mike Riley at second. Dan Morrison at third. Left field line, Rocky Rowe. Right field line, Rich Garcia. All veteran umpires. Just off the corner, 1-1 to Anderson. The outfield is soft, but not nearly in as bad a condition as you would think after the torrential rains of last night. There was some talk that Paul O'Neill, given his sore hamstring, he's been struggling of late, wouldn't start if the conditions were treacherous. There's strike 2, but he is in right field for the Yankees against the right-hander Erickson, in part because he hits Erickson very well, and also because the conditions out there are not so bad that Joe Torre is overly concerned.
Well, that's what he said before the game, Bob. He said he walked around the outfield. It's a little damp, but it's in good playing shape.
The 1-2 pitch. Got him.
Not exactly where Pettit wants to throw this pitch, but he had thrown 2 cut fastballs on the outside corner. Layrich sets up again on the outside corner. This is towards the outer half of the plate, but not exactly where he wanted. See, that's a cut fastball. Just a beautiful pitch when it works. See where Layrich is? He has to reach back a little bit, but the speed and the movement fooled Brady Anderson.
Strike 1 to Todd Zeile, over from the Phillies. They felt they were susceptible to left-handed pitching, and in fact under 500 for the year against left-handed starters. So they picked up Zeile and Incaviglia, who's on their bench, to shore their hitting up from the right side. Pettit looked sharp through the first 2 hitters, in contrast to the control problems he experienced last time out against Texas when he walked half a dozen. The 0-2 to Zeile. Just missed 1-2.
Well, there's that cut fastball that Joe was talking about a moment ago. If it's any indication here, Joe, in the early going, Brady Anderson saw the breaking stuff, the cutter, curveball. They're not going to let him sit on a fastball.
2-2 to Todd Zeile, who between the National and American Leagues this year hit 25 home runs and drove in 99. Bouncing ball foul. He entered the postseason, though, in a terrible slump. Just 1 for his last 30. He managed 5 hits against the Indians, 4 of them singles.
And when you look at Andy Pettit, the reason that he has been a 21-game winner this year has been that cut fastball.
Boggs is in front of it, juggles it for a moment, but has time to retire Zeile. And the reception for Alomar. New York Mayor Rudy Giuliani, who was widely quoted as encouraging New York fans to turn their backs and respond with silence to Alomar. Booing's okay, as long as nothing comes flying out of the stands, as has happened in the past with other visiting players here.
Bob, I was booed louder than that in my own home park, before that. I think it was just they're trying to be nice here.
Well, let's say they're trying to be civil. I'm not so sure they're trying to be nice. Foul back, 1-2.
Try getting booed like that in your own home park. That's really tough. That's what's really bad.
Everybody's a quipster.
It's early.
The 1-2. 2-2 to Alomar. who hit .328 this year with 22 homers and 94 RBIs. Played in the All-Star game for the 7th straight year, and yesterday was awarded his 6th consecutive Gold Glove. A called strike 3. Pettit works a perfect first, Fanning 2. No argument from Alomar, and we'll be back.
NBC's coverage of today's American League Championship Series is brought to you by Acura, who invites you to test drive the new CL Luxury Sports Coupe. By True Value, official hardware store of Major League Baseball and yards everywhere. By Wrangler, real, comfortable jeans. And by Visa, it's everywhere you want to be.
Let's take a look at this last pitch and see what you think. Alomar thinks it breaks outside. You see Larich kind of pull it a little bit. Larry Burnett says strike 3. And we'll take a look from overhead, and you can make your own decision there. Ball seems to be a little bit outside.
You are not going to see Alomar arguing many calls in this postseason, considering what happened a week or so ago.
Well, you're right. But the one point I want to make here is that Alomar should be able to block out all the boos and all the distractions. The thing that makes you a great player is the ability to focus on the field. And that's why he had such a good series against the Cleveland Indians. He's able to focus on the field, and he is a great player.
9th inning hit to tie the game off the formidable Jose Mesa in Game 4 at Cleveland, and then the series-winning homer in the 12th at Jacobs Field. 28-year-old Scott Erickson was 13-12 for the year. His ERA was over 5. The Orioles are the first team in history ever to make it to postseason with a team earned run average above 5 a game.
There you see Scott Erickson, 13-12. He was 0-2 against New York this year, but he really pitched well against the Yankees. Couple of tough losses.
In fact, toward the tail end of the regular season, he and Pettit hooked up in a great pitcher's duel here. Erickson left with the lead 2-1 after 7. Pettit worked into the 9th. They each wound up with a no decision. The Yankees won in 10, 3-2. Rain steps in with Zeal on top of him at third base, and he taps it foul.
There's that little sinking fastball I talked about at the top of the telecast, Bob. He's got a very, very good sinker. When he's right, he's going to throw a lot of ground balls. Got a very sharp slider, change of pace from time to time, but his sinker is number 1. If you start to see Erickson getting in trouble, he starts to pitch upstairs.
Oh, 1 pitch to Rains. Hopped into shallow left. And now the wind is taking this ball, and it drops safely, and Rains, hustling all the way, is in at second. B.J. Surhoff in left. Either the wind blowing it back toward the infield or possibly the sun field in left. Remember, in the World Series in days gone by, they used to talk about the treacherous sun field in October in left field at Yankee Stadium. Perhaps Surhoff never saw it. Yep, never saw it.
You know, it's ironic, Bob. I was talking to him before the game about playing in left field here. He said due to the late start, the late afternoon start, it may really help. But not on this particular play. You called it perfectly. He never saw it.
But it wasn't because of the sun. The sun had nothing to do with that because he never flipped his shades down. So he just lost it.
But why?
It's amazing. I don't know. He may have lost in the crowd when it went off the bat.
Boggs with a tapper that'll advance Rains. Erickson throws him out to Palmeiro.
I think you're right. He lost it against the white shirts and stuff in the upper deck here in Yankee Stadium.
Right off the bat, Joe. He as soon as the ball was hit, he threw his arms up. That's what B.J. Surhoff is looking at right there. As soon as that ball left the bat, he threw his hands up. I can't see it. I can't see it. And I'll tell you something. This guy is a pretty good player. He is a good, solid outfielder. He can play at third, and he's a very good catcher. He's a very valuable player for the Orioles.
Well, now the Yankees threatening in the bottom of the first. A fluke double for Rains. An advancing ground out by Boggs, and the hitter is Williams. Spectacular in the division series against the Rangers. 3 home runs, 2 in the 4th and final game. The infield, obviously at this stage, will concede the run. They're back. And there's a called strike.
There are only 2 places that Bernie Williams wants to make sure he avoids. That is hitting the ball back to the pitcher and also to Zeal at third base. Those are the only 2 spots on the infield that could keep Raines from scoring.
A ball and a strike to Williams. He topped the Yankees with 29 home runs, and he drove in 102. Bouncing ball to Ripken at short. The Yankees take the lead. Williams is thrown out.
It may seem like a little thing, but that's a good job of hitting there by Bernie Williams. Your main job should be, main thought should be just to get the runner in from third, and he does that.
So now it'll be Tino Martinez, who's itching to do something in the postseason. Last year, while a Mariner, he went just 3 for 22 in the LCS against Cleveland. Didn't knock home a run in the 4 games against Texas in the first series this year. That's ball 1.
Look at Erickson against these first 3 hitters, and now the 4th, and Tino Martinez always down and away with that sinker. The ball is really biting down and away.
Fouled out of play. Erickson is 28 years old. He's 6'4" and 230. Born in California. Lives now in State Line, Nevada. He was 20-8 for the 1991 Twins. He's never won more than 13 games in any other season, and that's how many he won this year, 13 with 12 defeats. 2 balls and a strike. He pitched a no-hitter in 1994 for the Twins. You were at that game. It was against the Brewers, Hugh.
Against Milwaukee in the Metrodome, and in a game where I don't know how he could have thrown any better, Bob. There wasn't maybe 2 balls in the whole game that were hit decent against him. I mean, everything else was ground ball.
Martinez taps one back to the mound. Erickson can't find the handle at first, but recovers to toss him out. The Yankees with a gift run in the bottom of the first and a 1-0.
Just before the inning, B.J. Surhoff came in to get some glasses to take to the outfield with you. In a day game, you should always have glasses on in the outfield. Here's the play. He's looking up. You see he doesn't drop his sunglasses, so that tells you that the sun was not a factor. What he was looking up into was a lot of white shirts and maybe the lights. The lights could have bothered him. See, he's pointing up to the guys in the dugout. He's telling them, I look right into the lights, and it's right in the middle of the lights, and I never saw it. And there's the view you have. I mean, you can easily lose a ball in that type of setting.
Game time temperature, a beautiful 69 degrees. The sun was shining earlier, and about an hour or so ago, shining through the top of the stadium and into the eyes of the left fielder. Now the sun appears to have popped back out,
right,
but it was not out when Surhoff had difficulty with that ball.
Exactly.
Three and 0 to Palmeiro, leading off in the second.
You know, Bob, you talked during your opening about the classic games here in New York during World Series time, and I think that's the one thing all of us remember about this stadium, the fact that the left fielders in postseason play, and at the World Series at that time, because they didn't have the playoffs, it was a big problem in left field.
And it works on 3-1 and walks Palmeiro to start the second. This is Pettit's 3rd postseason start in his career. So-so in one division series start against Seattle last year. Didn't do that well, left behind against Texas a week ago in the division series this year. A no decision, though, as it turned out both times.
Well, the Yankees came back and won that game. Game here in New York, game 2 of the series against Texas. But he was very wild. I mean, he pitched from behind throughout the game, walked 6 in 6 plus innings of work, left trailing 4-1, and they came back and won it for him. Not for him, but he was not involved in that loss.
Switch hitter Bobby Bonilla from the right side. Usually he's the target of all the fans' scorn here in the Bronx, which is ironic because he grew up only about a mile from the ballpark here in the Bronx. Frequent visitor to Yankee Stadium as a kid. His mom still works at nearby Lincoln Hospital. He went to Lehman High School in the Bronx. But after a star-crossed, shall we put it, tour of duty with the Mets, where he didn't do himself any favors, had some run-ins with the press, and didn't come through in quite the fashion the Mets hoped before he was sent off to Baltimore, he became something less than a fan favorite in New York. They really let him have it every time he comes back with the Orioles to play the Yankees. But of course now the focus is on Alomar. The 0-1 pitch. A ball and a strike.
And the Orioles have to be wary when they're on first base, simply because Pettit has a great pickoff move. He led the major leagues with 11, but he has a great move. Actually, sometimes I believe he balks, but he gets away with it most of the time.
Swing and a miss, 1-2. The 2 real threats to run for the Orioles are nearer the top of their order. Brady Anderson, who once was a 50 steal man and this year swiped 21, and Roberto Alomar, who had 17. But when you hit 257 home runs and play in a small ballpark like Camden Yards, you don't run all that often, especially not against the likes of Pettit. As Joe said, he picked off 11 this year, a dozen last year, which also led the league. His 1-2 pitch coming to Bonilla. A little pop-up on the infield. Pettit appears to be calling. Martinez is there along with Leyritz, and it's the catcher who makes the play. That is not the way you're supposed to do it.
No, it isn't, Bob. That's one of the plays where the catcher has got to give way. I mean, Tino Martinez was hollering and calling for that ball all the way. Leyritz, you'll watch Jimmy. He took a look at Martinez coming down. He's hollering, I got it, I got it. That's where Leyritz has really got to back off. You got to get out of there. But look at Leyritz stick in there, and he makes the catch on what could have been a very, very crucial play.
But the problem is that Pettit goes over. He should be standing back yelling Martinez, Martinez, or yelling for Leyritz to make the catch. He shouldn't be involved in the putout. He should be standing there directing traffic.
Half Nelson and a body slam will get Leyritz out of there.
And a strike to Ripken, who, in addition to those numbers, hit into a league-leading 28 double plays. Palmeiro at first with 1 out on the second. 1-0 New York. For the record, the Ripken streak is at 2,316. Postseason games don't count toward it, of course. Pettit's ahead of Cal 0-2.
Now, see, that looked like it was almost a balk, but his upper body started toward the plate.
Every time he goes over there, Joe, or makes a move toward the plate, that base runner's initial step is back toward the bag. Every guy.
Watch his upper body. See, he started home, and then he went to first base.
He brings it home, and it's inside. In addition to all the pickoffs, opposing runners don't even try. They attempted only 21 steals all year against Pettit, and were successful just 10 of those 21 times.
Well, he takes a lot of heat off the catcher, Bob, I can tell you. He really does.
Well, there's an imaginary line drawn halfway between home plate and first base. You have to step toward on the other side of that line if you throw the first base.
And Ripken rips it foul.
But every time he makes a delivery toward the plate, that runner, and in this case it's Palmeiro, his first step is back toward the bag.
Well, they're definitely guarding against a pickoff, but what you do when you have your momentum going towards first base, obviously you do not have a chance to break up a double play at second base. You do not have a good jump to go from first to third on a single. So you're right. I mean, Pettit helps himself by being able to keep the runners close at first base.
Another 1-2 pitch. And this one will make the seats. Watch again. Palmeiro stepping back toward first as Pettit makes his move to the plate.
There it is, that little half step back toward the bag. The only good thing about it, keeps you out of a double play if the guy hits a line drive.
You have to search to find a bright side like that. And Ripken spoils another one. Cal is one of 4 100 RBI men in this lineup, along with Anderson, Palmeiro, and Bonilla. Throw in Zeal, who had 99 combined between the Phillies and Orioles, and Alomar, who knocked home 94. It's potent. A line drive into left center field, and this ball will get down and into the gap. Around second is Palmeiro. Williams gets it back in. Palmeiro stops at third on the double by Ripken. Second and third, 1 out.
Well, he got 2 strikes on Ripken. This looks like a cutter that he tried to get inside. He missed with one inside earlier. Now let's see where this pitch ends up. Gets right into the middle of the plate, and it was a cutter, but it was in the middle of the plate, and they find the gap. Finds the gap in left center field. Nice play by Bernie Williams to cut it off and hold Palmeiro at third base and Ripken at second.
Thank goodness for the rain yesterday. It may have slowed that ball down when it took its initial hop in the outfield. It did slow down.
And now one of the great professional RBI men in an RBI spot, Eddie Murray, who cuts and misses. For his career, Murray has hit Pettit well, which really only means the last 2 years since Pettit came into the league. At this point, Eddie Murray has a little bit of trouble getting around on a really good fastball. He's a slider speed hitter. But if you leave one out over the plate, he can still crush it.
I'll tell you what, if he's looking fastball, and he does, he's such a situation hitter now. If he goes up there and he's looking fastball, I don't care how hard you throw, he's going to hit it, Bob. He will. If you make a mistake, he'll hit it.
Palmeiro at third, Ripken after the double at second. The 1-1 pitch. 2 balls and a strike. B.J. Surhoff on deck.
The problem is Surhoff has hit Pettit well also, and so you're not going to just automatically walk Eddie Murray. You're going to try to get him off.
Two and two. Murray's lifetime home run total now at 501. Came back to Baltimore in time to reach the 500 plateau in the uniform where his career began. Pettit's 2-2 pitch. Rolled slowly to short. The game will be tied. Jeter on the run, throws Murray out. Ripken moving up to third with 2 down.
Murray gets the job done by hitting a ground ball to shortstop. Ripken moved over, took a chance. If the ball's hit a little sharper, Jeter would have had a play on him at third, but that's what Eddie Murray does best. He gets runners in from second, third, wherever they are. He's a great RBI man.
And now Surhoff with a chance to atone for the misplay in left. He couldn't find the little fly ball off the bat of Raines, first hitter in the Yankee first. It dropped for a double, led to the New York run. The Orioles have tied it, and a Surhoff base hit could give them the lead. He was born in the Bronx, grew up in Rye, New York, a bit north of the city. His father, Dick Surhoff, played pro basketball with the Knicks, teammate of Al McGuire's. 2-0. In fact, a check of the record books by our Elliot Kalb reveals that Dick Surhoff played 3 minutes in the NBA Finals of 1953 when the Knicks lost to George Mikan and the Minneapolis Lakers. The 2-0 pitch with 2 out and Ripken at third. Hit toward the hole. Duncan to his left from the outfield grass. Throws him out. The Orioles tie it, but leave Ripken at third. Even at 1, middle of the second. On to the bottom of the second at Yankee Stadium. Orioles and Yankees tied at 1 apiece. Cecil Fielder, Paul O'Neill, and Mariano Duncan against Scott Erickson. Fielder hit 39 homers for the year, 13 of them after coming to the Yankees from Detroit, and had some key hits in the division series against Texas, including a solo home run.
Bob, but I think the biggest hits in that entire series were by Cecil Fielder, and they were not home runs. A single to right field in Game 2 that tied the score, and they ultimately run in extra innings. If they'd have gone down 2-0, they would have been in real trouble going to Texas. And then the game winner in Game 4 in the 8th inning in Texas was also a single.
2-0 pitch is in there.
So a guy that's known for home runs can also cut down his swing when he needs a single to drive in a run in big situations.
The sun, which at this time of the day can be coming from those stands behind first base into the eyes of the left fielder, keeps popping in and out from behind the clouds. On that pitch, the sun was out. A pitch before, it was not. That's what the left fielder is sometimes looking into. Dangerous pitch for Erickson on 3-1 to Fielder. And he walks him to start the second. We're back here tomorrow afternoon. We're on the air at 3 Eastern time for Game 2. And it bears repeating. There is nothing not to like about afternoon October baseball. If the Lords of Baseball really wanted to recapture the feeling of the Fall Classic, they'd play a couple of afternoon games in the World Series, 1 in each city. O'Neill steps in. We're not holding our breath waiting for that development, but it would be a good thing.
I think it was the one thing that I remembered, Bob. You were talking about it earlier. I mean, when you go back to pre-postseason play, just talking about the World Series, that was it. I mean, you look forward to it every day, and especially on Saturdays. You know, it was the biggest viewing day of the World Series.
Plus those days, and this day is going to be a little bit like it in New York and in Baltimore, where kids are looking to race home from the bus stop early, maybe bring a radio to school, maybe the teacher lets them follow the game on television, in the classroom, around offices, word of the progress of the game is buzzing about. A chopper to the right side. Alomar gets a glove on it, but can't control it. Now he flips to first, but not in time. And the Yankees have 2 on with nobody out. It'll be ruled an infield hit for Paul O'Neill. Alomar knew he had a chance at him because O'Neill is really struggling to get down the first base line with that bad hamstring.
That's a nice play by Alomar. It hits off the heel of his glove. He actually overran the ball a little bit. He thought it was going to go through a lot quicker. Tries to struggle to get it back to first base, but not in time. So he gets a good jump right there, but it goes off the heel of his glove.
Joe, I think this is a gift base hit. I think if Alomar catches that ball, he throws O'Neill out by plenty. I think it was a gift base hit. That's a play that Alomar should make.
Fielder at second. O'Neill at first. 1-1 game in the bottom of the second. Duncan the hitter with Leyritz on deck. Is this a bunt situation, Joe?
Well, it was during the season late in the ball game. I don't think so right now.
Zeal and Palmeiro inching in. He swings away, hits it to Alomar. Tough hop, but he flips to Ripken. Palmeiro pulled off the bag, though, by Cal's throw. And there's a huge break for the Yankees.
And that was a fine play by Alomar. That ball jumped up high into his chest. He fielded it, but he didn't take any time to get it over to Ripken. He backhanded the ball. Now watch it leaps up into his chest. He blocks it with his chest. Now look at the backhand throw while he's coming down. Perfect throw. Ripken had plenty of time. He just makes a bad throw to first base, and you can see he pulls Palmeiro off the bag. He goes back, but not in time. Good hustle there by Duncan. And you'll see Palmeiro. He comes off the bag. Now watch, he'll try to go back, but by the time he gets back, you see Duncan is across the bag.
Well, and Scott Erickson here has done his job. He's throwing the ground balls. The one by Alomar that he bobbled, and now the bad throw by Ripken on what should have been a double play ball.
So now Leyritz rolling it foul. Meanwhile, the previous ball hit by O'Neill has been changed from a hit to an error.
Yeah, that was a ball that Alomar should have handled, I thought.
That's a tough error, though, I think.
I don't think so. I really don't. I think it's a play that Alomar should make. He's got great range, and I mean, in watching this guy day after day, it's a play that he should have made, Bob. And had he caught the ball, he throws O'Neill out by 5 steps.
So the Gold Glove winner is first charged with an error, then makes an excellent play on a tough hop to start what should have been a double play, but Ripken's throw pulls Palmeiro off the bag. So the Yankees have runners at first and third with 1 out. Erickson is always among the league leaders in inducing hitters to ground into double plays because of that excellent sinker. He could use one here. Zeal can't control it. Picks it up and throws to first in time for the out, but there was a double play ball. 2 in a row, in effect, thrown by Erickson, and his defense betrays him.
Well, one thing to remember, the Orioles were not that good a defensive team the entire year. The Yankees were second only to Texas. And you see Zeal, he has the ball go off of his glove. He charged the ball, but he was trying to get in position to throw to second base, and the ball did take a pretty good hop. The one thing that happens when you have a pitcher like Erickson, you get a lot of overspin on the ball because you're hitting the top of it. So you get funny hops. That's what we saw in the ball that was hit to Alomar that bounced up into his chest. A lot of overspin on a good sinker coming off the hand of Erickson.
So instead of being out of the inning, Erickson trails again 2-1, and Leyritz gets an RBI on the ground out. Derek Jeter hitting 9th in the Yankee order. Takes strike 1. He hit .314 with 10 home runs. Hit leadoff part of the time, as low as 9th on other occasions. A lock for the American League Rookie of the Year. The Yankees haven't hit anything particularly hard, but they have a run across in this inning. A walk to Fielder. Error at second by the Gold Glover Alomar. A ground out by Duncan that could have been a double play, but was just a force. Another ground out by Leyritz, where they could have turned 2, but had to settle for just the out at first.
I know this has happened to Joe Morgan probably 1,000 times. That in-between hop, there's really nothing you can do about it. It's almost like a catcher taking a 59-foot breaking ball. You got to try and block it with your body, hope you knock it down and keep it in front of you, where you're able to make a play on at least one runner. But they're tough to handle.
1-2 pitch. Ripken to his right. Long throw, tough play, and Jeter beats it out. Hit slowly, Jeter runs well. Ripken had to get rid of it quickly, and his throw bounced. And Palmeiro wisely comes off the bag to block it rather than risk it getting away in a run scoring.
Here's another tough play. Good pitch by Erickson. He's doing the job. He's throwing the ground balls. This one's hit to the hole. Ripken makes the play, then slips a little bit. Gets off a big sidearm throw. Not much on the throw. He didn't really get much on the throw. Jeter runs good. The throw was a one-hopper to Palmeiro. He blocked it. Jeter beats it. Here it is again. Look at Ripken slide a little bit. I don't know if he'd have been better off making a backhanded play, then coming up firing with some momentum. And again, Jeter runs well. Ripken saying to himself, hey, I don't have that much time. I'm going to try and make it quick.
So now Raines, who doubled and scored his first time. Raines had the pop fly double leading off the game against Erickson. Since then, every hitter who's put the ball in play has hit it on the ground. Erickson is not new to the postseason. He had one start in the LCS for the Twins against Toronto in '91 and 2 starts for the Twins against Atlanta that year in the World Series. A no decision all 3 times. One and one.
Well, he's one of those guys. He just doesn't give in to you. He works that sinker off the outside corner. Left-handed batter. He tries to stay down and away on you and tries to get you to pull it.
Duncan at third. Jeter at first. A run home in the second and a 2-1 New York lead.
Be interesting to see here if Torrey would run Jeter in this situation. He's got Raines to lead off in case they throw him out. That's what Joe said he wants to do. They want to run. They're not going to do anything unusual. They're going to stay with their game plan.
In the air to left center field. Surhoff sees it and has it. The Yankees score a run. They leave 2 and after 2. New York 2, Baltimore 1.
Let's take a look at the ground ball that Jeter hits to Ripken. Now I'm going to show you a point here. Stop it right in there. Now Ripken's going to catch the ball back here. In order to make a shorter throw, you have to cut it off in here. You should have rounded the ball and have made it a shorter throw. He makes it the longest throw by catching it way back there. He's given the runner too long to run, and no way he's going to throw him out. You have to make a commitment to cut it off earlier when you have a speedy base runner going.
So Pettit takes a 2-1 lead to the third. Mark Parent, the veteran catcher, takes a strike. Each team using, in effect, a personal catcher for its pitcher. Today, Leyritz usually starts only when Pettit works, and Parent usually catches Erickson and Erickson only.
It was interesting in talking with Joe Torre about that situation, Bob. He said he doesn't particularly like it because of the fact that if your catcher is hurt, your personal catcher is hurt, you might have that thing in the back of your mind that you can't work to another catcher. Good, bad, or indifferent. I don't know if it works or not. It gives each of these guys a chance to play probably more often than they would. You know, Hoyles is still #1 with Baltimore, and Girardi is still #1 with the Yankees.
Not a big difference in those numbers right there.
Not percentage-wise.
But what happened was last year he was struggling. Pettit was struggling with Mike Stanley. Leyritz caught him a couple of ball games, and they won. And they were thinking alike on the same, in the 2-1 counts. They had the same pitch in mind, etc. So he had confidence in Leyritz, and that's how it started. And also, they're not pals off the field. They don't hang around together or anything like that. It's just that they think alike when they're in the middle of the diamond, and that's why they have him as his personal catcher. But also watch throughout the ball game, very rarely will you see Pettit shake Leyritz off. He said maybe once or twice the entire ball game.
The 2-2 pitch. Parent has occasional power. Ripken making the play. Parent had 9 home runs, including the homer that broke the record of the M&M boys, the 1961 Yankees, who had 240 home runs. Parent got number 241 against the Tigers. Orioles went on to hit 257. Boggs picks it up, throws across, and got him.
Maybe all these guys' hands are a little stiff today. I mean, ball's bouncing off of everything. Let's take a look at this. You have to have soft hands when you get an in-between hop. Wade doesn't give with that. He kind of sticks his glove out and he blocks it, but that's okay because he knows he has a catcher running, so he has plenty of time to throw him out. But on a backhand stop, you have to give a little bit with the ball, and in that particular play, he didn't.
Most of these hops today, Joe, earlier seem to be those in-between jobs.
Talking about the Oriole record of 257. And the Mariners and A's also exceeded the 61 Yankees total of 240. Taking nothing away from that, this is, of course, now a DH league. The Yankees didn't have the DH.
And they didn't have this live of baseball either that they're playing with.
Brady Anderson with a drive to right, and O'Neill can just turn and watch it leave. Well, Maris or Mantle would have been proud of that one. It's his third of the postseason. The fans in the bleachers throw it back. But he crosses to tie it again at 2.
And it's a hanging breaking ball. And Brady Anderson has hit a lot of home runs off of hanging breaking balls this year. You see the target and watch where the pitch is. It's up, and it's that cut fastball right out over the middle of the plate, and he knows right away that he's hit it out of the ballpark. Take a look at the pitch. You see Leyrich is set outside. That pitch is right out over the middle.
Zeal with a chopper to short, and Derek Jeter throws him out for the second out in the third. And now Alomar again. As long as it's this and only this, some lusty booing, well, that's fine. Struck out looking in the first, committed an error a bit later in the field. Brady Anderson, who hit 50 for the year, and now 3 in the postseason, has tied it here in the third.
And Bob, I have to commend the New York writers for their stance in this situation. They basically said it's okay to boo, but don't be throwing things. And as we all know, sometimes writers can incite the fans. But they did a good job, I think, of trying to keep anything from happening other than booing.
The 1-1 pitch. Hopped into shallow right. O'Neill in and toward the line to make the catch. Anderson's homer ties it, and after 2.5, even up at 2. Today's overhead shots are courtesy of the Goodyear Blimp Stars and Stripes, based in Pompano Beach, Florida. At the controls is Captain Richard Daniels from Burbank, California. Just before Wade Boggs stepped in to start the bottom of the third, the scoreboard in right center was playing film of Don Larson's perfect game and Bob Wolf's call of the final pitch, a called third strike, to Dale Mitchell. That event was 40 years ago yesterday, October 8th, 1956. Don Larson's World Series perfect game against the Dodgers. And Joe Torre, a high school kid living in Brooklyn and a Giant fan, inexplicably, in that borough in the 50s. Young Joe Torre was at that ball game. Said he started out rooting for the Dodgers, but as Larson moved toward perfection, he joined the crowd and rooted for the Yankee right-hander.
Front runner.
40 years ago yesterday.
Oh, yeah, front runner at 16.
0-2 the count to Boggs. Grounded out his first time. Hit sharply to short, but Ripken has it. Well, we might as well cue it up and show it. Game 5 of the 56 World Series. 40 years ago yesterday. Casey Stengel's Yankees, Walter Alston's Dodgers. Series was tied at 2 apiece. This must be the Gil Hodges drive. Yes, it is. And Mickey Mantle with the catch he called the best of his career to help preserve the perfect game. And then Dale Mitchell A lifetime .312 hitter. Had some great years with the Indians. Finishing up as a reserve for the Dodgers. Came off the bench to pinch hit as the last man and was called out by plate umpire Babe Pinelli, working his last game ever behind the plate. He retired after that year. Called out on the 1-2 pitch.
You may find this hard to believe, but in that opening shot, I believe I saw the Torrey family automobile.
I think it was the blue Nash Rambler, wasn't it? Or maybe the Studebaker. Or was that the year of the Edsel?
Yeah, they always used to get in the back seat and thought they were driving the other way.
2-0 to Bernie Williams, who had an RBI ground out his first time. Bottom of the third, 2 apiece. Game 1 of the League Championship Series. And there's strike 1. This is also a significant date. As yesterday was in Yankee history, today a significant date in Oriole history. 30 years ago today, October 9th, 1966, the Orioles completed their upset sweep of the Dodgers in the World Series, beat them 4 straight. Williams looking to bunt and rolling it foul.
Unusual for a guy to hit 29 home runs and 1 down to try to bunt, but any way to start a rally, I guess.
The Yankees haven't hit a single ball hard against Erickson thus far.
Yeah, the Yankees have got the uglier of the 2 runs.
The Yankees have only hit 2 balls in the air, and that was both by Tim Raines. I mean, and he's your leadoff hitter. The last guy you want to hit the ball in the air.
Well, when Surhoff couldn't find his fly ball to start the game, it set up the first run. Then an Alomar error put the man on base, who eventually scored the second run in the second inning. Williams goes down swinging. And subsequent to that, the Orioles failed to turn a couple of potential double plays, had to settle for the single out, and the runner came around. Unlike some hitters, you won't see Bernie Williams slamming his helmet or jamming the bat back into the bat rack after a strikeout. Very controlled demeanor. Tino Martinez takes strike 1. Said that he had 2 dreams when he left Puerto Rico. Obviously to play in the major leagues. Line drive, there's a ball hit solidly by Martinez for a 2-out single with Bonilla getting it back in. Bernie Williams wanted to play in the major leagues and also wanted to perform at Carnegie Hall. He's a classical guitarist.
Well, here's that last pitch by Erickson. It looked like he took something off of a breaking ball that time, and Martinez got out in front of it and ripped it hard to right field.
Cecil Fielder walked his first time.
There's a mistake on a breaking ball, Joe. He wanted to get that ball out over the plate, but it hung inside on Fielder. First time up, he stayed away on Cecil, strictly away. Again, because he's got the big power, you've got to come inside, as we've talked about many, many times. You can't be afraid to come in tight on this guy either. I mean, if you do come tight, he swings, he can't hit it fair.
Hit solidly but foul. Well, I guess that illustrates your point.
Well, I mean, it's true with any hitter, left-handed or right-handed. I mean, if you're going to pitch them off the plate and they get out in front of it, there's no way you can hit the ball fair. I mean, you see it happen many times, Joe, where a guy will hit a ball fair to right field, get jammed and hit one that way. But to really get out in front and pull it fair and keep it fair, you can't do it.
1-1 pitch. Zeal blocks it, recovers, and gets him. Nothing has come easy for the Baltimore infield early in this game. Still tied at 2. house, of course, at Yankee Stadium, with the game starting a little bit after 4 o'clock Eastern time. All the kids should be home from school. Chance to follow the ball game on a perfect October afternoon in the Bronx. Andy Pettitte locked up in a 2-2 tie with Scott Erickson as we move to the 4th. And Rafael Palmeiro starts it for Baltimore with a long drive to right. O'Neill back to the track, and this one will leave the yard. Palmeiro, who hit 39 in each of the last 2 seasons, hits one into the lower stands in right to start the 4th, and the Orioles take a 3-2 lead.
Well, in the past, they have stayed away from Palmeiro. They stayed away from his first time up. Now they try to come inside. You cannot pitch him inside. He has some of the quickest hands in all of baseball. And any ball inside, I mean, he can get the bat through. Watch this pitch. It's supposed to be inside. Look at that. He just turns on it. You cannot pitch him inside and expect to get him out.
Both of the home runs on first pitches. Anderson hit that cut slider or cut fastball, and it looked like the same kind of a pitch there to Palmeiro.
Bonilla blasts one deep but foul.
Take a look at this pitch there. Again, they were trying to come inside. You see the target by Leyritz is inside, but Palmeiro turns on it. It is right on the inside corner, and you can see how quick his hands are. He gets right through it, opens his hips, gets his hips out of the way, and then he just rips it to right field for a home run. You have to stay away from him.
Mel Stottlemyre to the mound to talk with Pettitte. Pettitte was touched for a couple of home runs by Juan Gonzalez in his division series start. Nobody up in the Yankee bullpen.
And again, similar to what Joe talked about a moment ago with Gonzalez. He was trying to get inside on Gonzalez through that fastball, Joe, that was about thigh high and maybe 6 inches of the inside. And he hit it out of here and then hit the long home run to left center against him.
I don't think this was a mistake, though. They made a conscious effort to try to hit the inside corner with that pitch. We saw Leyritz's glove set up right there on the inside corner, and the pitch was almost on the inside corner.
It still looked like it was up, though.
Yeah, it was.
High.
Oh, definitely up.
Now Pettitte back to work, and a ball and a strike to Bonilla. You look at Palmeiro's numbers. 39 homers, 142 RBIs. In most seasons, that'll get you the MVP award, and he isn't, for the most part, even in the conversation. Roll to Jeter. And there's the first out in the top of the 4th. Alex Rodriguez, Albert Bell, Mo Vaughn, Juan Gonzalez. They're all mentioned before you hear Palmeiro's name.
Let's take one more look and see exactly where this pitch was. Now, see the target right there? Let's see if he hits the glove. He's almost going to hit the glove. That ball, I mean, again, it was belt high. Now watch, it's about belt high, but you see the target's inside. That's where he wanted it. They were trying to set him up inside so they could go away, but he didn't give them the opportunity to set him up.
Right out.
Ripken doubled to left center his first time up, a called strike. During the year, Andy Pettitte gave up only 1 home run to a left-handed hitter. 2 homers today, each by a lefty, and 2 of the best, Brady Anderson and Rafael Palmeiro. Oh, 0-2. I don't know how much of this is coincidence, but Pettitte is 11-1 with an ERA of 2.67 in day games. He's 10-7 with an ERA 2 runs higher, 4.66 at night. There it is. And he fans Ripken.
Throwing breaking balls like that, I don't think it matters much whether you're pitching daytime or nighttime. That was a heck of a breaking ball, down low and inside, and Ripken went after it.
Tonight on NBC, all new must-see TV comedy. First, Wings, with the gang trapped in a wild singles party, trapped by a hurricane. Then an all-new episode of the John Larroquette Show with special guest Ray Charles. Tonight at 8, 7 Central.
Anything you want me to check in particular tonight? I'm just going to be hanging around.
If you would tape Ray Charles on the Larroquette Show for me, because I have other plans, but I'd like to see it. So take care of that.
Consider it done, pal. Adhesive or scotch?
Eddie Murray lifts one to left. Rain started in, now goes back. Almost to the track, but not quite, to put it away. The Palmero homer puts Pettit behind 3-2 as we go to the bottom of the fourth.
NBC's coverage of today's American League Championship Series is brought to you by Nissan, who reminds you that life is a journey. Enjoy the ride. By Coca-Cola Classic, always the real thing, always Coca-Cola. By Old Spice High Endurance Deodorant. For long-lasting odor protection, now you've got proof, not promises. And by Wendy's on the new bigger, plumper grilled chicken breast filet sandwich. Try one today.
Andy Pettit now trailing 3-2. His teammates trying to do something about it in the bottom of the fourth.
We want you to be able to continue to watch the baseball game here on Channel 4, but we need to tell you the breaking news coming from Joe Louis Arena. It appears the much anticipated trade between the Hartford Whalers and the Detroit Red Wings is becoming official. Keith Primo and Paul Coffey are apparently headed to Hartford in exchange for Brendan Shanahan. Our reports are that Shanahan is en route to Joe Louis Arena and may be ready to be able to play in tonight's home opener for the Red Wings as they skate against the Edmonton Oilers. Keith Primo apparently has agreed to contract terms and is headed to Hartford as he has wished. And Paul Coffey apparently is also headed to Hartford, a team that has also worked out a deal that will ultimately land Coffey in Philadelphia to play for the Flyers. We are still working on this story, and we will have more details as they develop. Right now, back to Bob Costas, Bob Uecker, and Joe Morgan in NBC's coverage of the American League Championship Series.
In for a strike. Ruben Rivera, right-handed swinging rookie with a lot of promise, has an injured shoulder, and the Yankees took him off the playoff roster and replaced him with the left-handed hitting pinch hitter, the veteran Mike Aldrete, for this series.
If the Orioles continue to hit home runs in this series, I wouldn't be surprised to see Darryl Strawberry inserted into the lineup, you know, to try to offset some of the power of the Orioles if they decide to take O'Neill out of the lineup.
There's Straw back from exile and in the major leagues. Luis Sojo in the foreground. Payoff pitch to O'Neill. Spanked to center. Brady Anderson on the run for the catch.
This is back in the bottom half, or I should say the top half of the fourth inning, the final out. Now watch Tim Raines kick up that little divot there, Joe. You draw, I'll jaw. Joe Torre talked earlier about the Yankee outfield not being particularly bad because of the heavy rains yesterday. But there you see those divots being replaced out in left field, and it is a little treacherous, it looks like.
And a strike to Mariano Duncan, a career .262 hitter who hit .340 this year for the Yanks, including .406 in this ballpark. 0-2. He had 3 RBIs in the division series, including the game-winning hit in the 9th in Game 3 in Texas. The Yankees trailed in every game of the Texas series and won 3 of the 4. They trail here 3-2 in the bottom of the 4th, Game 1.
What the Yankees have been able to do so well is when they get into the other team's bullpen, they've been able to handle them. And I don't think any bullpen in the American League is as good as the Yankees down the stretch.
A little squibber to Alomar. Some boos greet him as he scoops it up. And he retires Duncan for the second out.
There you see what the Yankees bullpen did during the division series. Very good at shutting the other teams down late in the ball game.
Now Leyritz. RBI ground out his last time. He takes a strike. Few will ever forget his 15th inning home run in Game 2 of the division series in the rain last year in this ballpark against the Mariners off Tim Belcher, ending one of the most wildly exciting games in recent postseason history. Yankees took a 2-0 lead to Seattle, then dropped all 3 at the Kingdome.
Remember the first game we did, he got hit in the left elbow in the second game, I should say. Well, he's wearing Mo Vaughn's elbow pad. Mo sent that in for him to use for the remainder of this series.
Either that or Wayne Gretzky's.
Oh, that's Moe's. American Gladiator or something, huh? You know what I mean? Yeah, there you see 42 on it. That's Mo Vaughn.
With 2 out and nobody on, the 1-2 pitch. And Leyritz, with a weak wave at it, goes down swinging. Erickson works a perfect 4th, and Baltimore still leads 3-2. As we move to the 5th, here's the Hertz game summary. First 3 runs of the game, all scored on RBI groundouts. A Bernie Williams roller bringing Raines across, 1-0 New York. A Murray ground out for an RBI as Palmeiro crosses. That tied it at 1. A Leyritz ground ball that could have been a double play, but the Orioles botched it a bit and settled for the 1 as Fielder scored. And then the Orioles played long ball. Anderson to tie it, and Palmeiro to take the lead, 3-2, and that's where it stands now. The game summary brought to you by Hertz. For business, for pleasure. Nobody does it exactly like Hertz. And few could do it exactly like that. Martinez turning in a sparkling play at first, robbing Surhoff for the first out in the 5th.
Well, a beautiful play by Tino Martinez on an absolute rocket hit by Surhoff. This is the one thing that the Brewers tried to get B.J. Surhoff to do more of, and that was pull, indicative of his home runs this year for Baltimore. But he had a frozen rope there, and Martinez with a beautiful diving stab and the unassisted play. That's a heck of a play right there. He took a double away from him. Another angle, beautiful play.
And now Mark Parent, who grounded out his first time, lines one to left. It's in there for a hit. Parent doesn't run that well. Raines over to pick it up. And he'll be content with a single. Now as Brady Anderson walks toward the plate, Joe, let's take a look back at the way Pettit pitched him his first 2 at-bats. The first one was a strikeout. The second was a first pitch homer.
Well, watch this. All breaking balls, cut slider, cut fastball, another cut fastball. Now watch, even on the strikeout pitch, that is not a good pitch. But what are you going to look for if you're Brady Anderson and he's throwing you all cutters? When you come up the next time, you look for another one, you get it, it's up, and you drive this one out of the ballpark. The other ones were down. That one was up, and he hit it out of the ballpark. There's no doubt in my mind that Brady was looking for that pitch.
Now Pettit faces him with 1 on and 1 out. And misses with ball 1. Last year, Anderson hit 16 homers. His previous career high was 21. This year, he explodes for 50. And people talk about Camden Yards being a great home run park, which it is, but he hit 31 of the 50 on the road. A lollipop throw over to first and a balk. Pettit balks. And Parent down to second. Martinez was not holding him. Parent not a threat to run. And watch what happens.
Well, let's take a look at Pettit's move. Now, see, he steps toward home plate. He is not on that imaginary line. There should be an imaginary line between home plate and first base. And you see, he throws the ball behind, trying to hit Martinez. He was not leaving. You have to throw to a base. You can't throw to a fielder. He has to throw that ball to first base. Martinez doesn't have to be standing at first base for him to throw it there, but he has to throw the ball to the base. You can't throw the ball to the fielder.
Now Pettit back to the plate. 2-0 the count to Anderson. Why even throw over there?
That's a good question. I mean, you've got I think it's just a lack of concentration. He forgot that Martinez was playing behind him and was moving away.
Absolutely.
But you can't throw to the runner. Like I said, if he'd have thrown it to the bag, Martinez could have run over and grabbed it. Would have been okay. But he threw to Martinez, and you can't do that. But just a lack of concentration.
With that great pickoff move, Pettit committed 2 balks this year. This one places a runner in scoring position. And now he's behind Anderson, 3-0.
Let's take another look. See where Martinez is. If you throw to the bag, you're okay. But you can't throw to a fielder. Otherwise, you could just turn and throw the ball to Alomar at second base. So you can't do that. You have to throw to the bag.
And the 3-0 pitch. No question he had a green light if he saw one he liked, but it misses outside. First and second, one out for Todd Zeile with Alomar on deck.
And that's maybe one of the first times I've seen someone pitch him like he's a 50 home run man. In the past, they go right after him, and we saw that last time. They don't believe that this guy's hit 50 home runs.
How long does it take before people get the message?
That's a good point. Well, but we've even seen it in the playoffs. I mean, he hit 50 during the year, but Cleveland didn't pitch him like a 50 home run hitter, and neither did the Yankees at the start of this series.
Now Zeile, who's grounded out twice. A strike to the former Cardinal Cub in Philly.
But you can't give in on these guys all the time, Joe. I mean, once in a while you have to challenge them.
Yeah, that's true.
And again, if you challenge them and you make the right pitch or you make the pitch in the right zone, more often than not you're going to be successful. But when you hit hanging fastballs and hanging breaking balls, you're hurt.
Out of play 0-2.
It's easy for me to sit up here and watch and say this, Bob, but if I'm the Orioles hitters, all I look for is a cutter. That seems to be the only pitch that he is throwing, and he's throwing it just about every pitch. He's trying to throw the cut fastball, even to right-handers.
It's said to be the key to his success, but you got to mix it in with the curve and the change.
Thank you.
1-2.
I mean, if I'm a right-handed hitter, I just sit up and look for the ball middle of the plate in because that's where he's throwing it.
You know, you've faced so many left-handers in your career. As you look at that last cutter, as Joe described it, off the inside corner. Pettit is one of those guys, Joe, one of the few left-handers that doesn't have it or doesn't want to throw that ball that rides away from a right-handed batter.
Still 1-2 to Zeile. Pettit in a jam in the fifth, trailing 3-2, and trying to keep it close. If he can get the Yankees to the seventh inning, even if they trail by a run in the postseason, maybe not in the regular season, but in the postseason, they can bring Rivera on as they did against Texas to try and keep it close enough for them to mount a rally late in the game. But not if he lets it get out of hand here. 2-2.
Well, that's what you're saying. He needs to mix in a few more pitches like that. He had thrown him like 4 consecutive cut fastballs inside. He goes away. He's got him out if he throws a strike. He just misses with it. There was no way Zeile could hit that pitch. Watch his body. His body is gone, but there's no way he could have hit that pitch.
Two on, one out, and the 2-2 pitch from Pettit to Zeile. Called strike 3. Larry Barnett, the plate umpire, with that dramatic pullback and punch out.
That's a postseason strike call right there by Larry Barnett. I don't know if I've seen him use that during the regular season. I don't know what Zeile was looking for there. Borderline pitch, about knee-high, but right down Main Street. And he took it. Around the inside corners, we get another look at it. And a big strikeout for Pettit.
Now it's up to Alomar, who's 0 for 2. A strike. Alomar's on the cover of Sports Illustrated, just out today. The headline says, "In your face," and the subhead says, "Disgraced Baltimore Orioles star Roberto Alomar strikes back with playoff heroics," which he did against Cleveland. The 0-1. As we said earlier, these fans thus far have been well behaved. Booing is part of the experience. That's fine. Now they're cheering for Pettit to record the strikeout ahead of Alomar 0-2. A ball and 2 strikes. Of course, the irony is many Yankee players of the recent past and of the present have had their own misadventures, and as long as they were wearing Yankee uniforms, they were greeted with ovations. So it's a very selective morality here, as elsewhere. 2-2. If he were a Yankee player, he'd be cheered, just as Alomar is cheered in Baltimore. For better or worse, what appears to be the operative philosophy all around sports, almost every city, almost every sport. If it's our player, anything short of a homicide, and maybe even that, it's okay. 2 on, 2 out, and the 2-2 pitch. A little roller, tough play if it stays fair. Boggs lets it roll and picks it up as soon as it goes foul.
Smart play there by Wade Boggs. He knows he doesn't really have a shot at Alomar. Now watch the ball. Alomar's on the move right away, so he gets a good jump out of the box. So if you're Boggs, you come in. If I have to make the play, I catch it. But he sees that it may go foul, so he lets it roll, and once it goes foul, all he has to do is touch it.
Is at second. Brady Anderson is at first. 2 out, top of the 5th. 3-2 Baltimore. Alomar spoils that one. You know, it occurs to me, Joe, that with more people watching in the postseason and with Alomar getting the kind of attention that makes him part of the monologue on the Letterman or Leno show, there are probably some people unaware until the past couple of weeks of who Roberto Alomar is, and unaware of the fact that he's probably one of the 5 or 6 best all-round players in baseball. Perennial Gold Glover, 7-time All-Star, 300 hitter with some power, runs very well. Hit hard and Boggs backhands it. Goes to the bag for the force. Alomar's 0 for 3. The Orioles strand 2. And it remains a 3-2 game. Andy Pettit with the Yankees Game 3 starter, Jimmy Key. Tomorrow, David Wells and David Cohn. Game 3, Friday night at Camden Yards, Jimmy Key and Mike Musial.
Van Earl Wright rejoining you live from the Channel 4 newsroom with more information concerning the big blockbuster trade concerning the Red Wings. We have confirmed that Paul Coffey and Keith Primo have been traded to the Hartford Whalers, and Brendan Shanahan is now a member of the Detroit Red Wings, and he is en route to our city, apparently trying to get here in time for tonight's home opener when the Red Wings skate against the Edmonton Oilers. This, of course, is Brendan Shanahan in a recent Whaler workout with the team, now his former club. He's regarded as one of the best offensive players in the NHL, and the Red Wings are glad to have him. Right now, we want to go live to Joe Louis Arena and join Fred Heumann with more. Fred.
Okay, Van Earl, I am just outside the Red Wing dressing room. This is truly a breaking story. In fact, I just picked up my IFB, so I don't know what you've told our audience. I will repeat the details of the trade. Paul Coffey, Keith Primo, and a #1 draft choice go to the Hartford Whalers in exchange for Brendan Shanahan and defenseman Brian Glynn. Now, this is truly a developing story. As I walked over here from our studios at Channel 4, Paul Coffey was getting in his car in the players' parking lot. He whisked by reporters without making much of a comment. Reporters around here told me he seemed to be angry, but said, "I don't even know where I'm going," as he told one reporter. Well, apparently he's on his way to Hartford. There are reports that perhaps he is also on his way to Philadelphia via the Hartford Whalers, but for right now, Paul Coffey, as far as we know, is on his way to Hartford. The deal is complete. I've been on the phone in the Keith Primo household all day, and Keith Primo is not in Hartford, as has been previously reported around town. He is still in town, and his wife was unaware of any trade as of 20 minutes ago. But the trade has happened. I walked in with Sergei Fedorov to the arena, and I said, "Have you heard?" And he said, "Have I heard what?" So this trade is truly a developing story. Scotty Bowman is in with the media right now and is announcing the details of the trade. Some of the players were out here, and they seemed unsurprised by it. But what's going on the last week here, Van Earl, they are pretty much unsurprised by anything. So we will wait for a further word or perhaps a comment. But right now, Paul Coffey has left the arena. Of course, the Red Wings open the home season tonight against the Hartford Whalers. Coffey will not be here. I heard an unconfirmed report that Shanahan may even be here for the game. I have not been able to check that out. That would seem highly unlikely. But the deal has been complete. Keith Primo and Paul Coffey on their way to Hartford, along with the #1 draft pick for Brendan Shanahan and defenseman Brian Glynn. Vanner, I'll stand by and update you with any further details or if I can get comment. But for now, that's the breaking story here at Joe Louis Arena.
That's Fred Heumann live from Joe Louis Arena. And, of course, the opponent tonight for the Red Wings is the Edmonton Oilers. And our reports are indicating that Shanahan is en route to the Motor City. So whether he plays tonight or even dresses for partial or for some of the game, we can only wait and see. Of course, Scotty Bowman, as Fred indicated, is meeting the media right now. We're We are recording that press conference, and as soon as we have tape available, we'll try to get that to you. Right now, back to NBC's coverage of the American League Championship Series.
Tight on range.
I'm going to say, Bob, the other thing you find today, you look in the dugouts, both teams, somebody in there, one of those coaches has a watch and is timing the pitcher from his motion, his stretch, his windup, whatever it takes, from the time that ball leaves his hand until it gets to the catcher, which allows you as a runner to pick up another step or two.
So now Jeter representing the tying run here in the fifth at second with nobody out. 2-2 to Raines.
And what Erickson is trying to do is keep Raines from pulling the ball here.
It was Jeter who led off the ninth in Game 3 in Texas with the Yankees trailing by a run with a big base hit, and then Raines followed with a tremendous at-bat behind 0-2, eventually worked it full, eventually got a base hit. The Yankees mounted a 2-run rally and turned the series around. A tip that Parent can't hold.
What you'll see here is every pitch from Erickson now will be away and trying to run it away to keep Raines from pulling the ball. See, Raines has to go out and try to get it and try to pull it, but he can't. You want him to hit a ground ball to shortstop or third base. You do not want him to pull the ball to the right side and advance the runner.
Tim Raines, at age 37, in his 16th big league season, has never seen the World Series. Erickson's 2-2 pitch.
Well, he threw him a breaking ball there, which surprises me because Raines can pull the breaking ball. Raines is really not a pull hitter, so if you can just run the fastball away from him, he's not going to be able to pull it. The target's outside, but you see it's a breaking ball, and Raines gets the barrel out in front. He would have been able to pull that pitch. Very rarely with 2 strikes will you see a guy ease up like that and give the hitter a chance to pull it.
This ball's hit the other way, and Ripken short hops it and throws him out.
Erickson accomplishes what he wants, and that is to get the ball to the left side, make him hit a ground ball to shortstop. This is hit like a bullet. If it's 2 more steps to his right, it's a base hit. Raines does a good job. With 2 strikes, you've got to go with the pitch sometimes. You can't always pull the ball. Nice pickup by Ripken. He takes his time and throws Tim Raines out at first base. This is a tough play because, you know, you're not sure if it's going to hit in front of you and you're not going to get the good hop. Fortunately for Ripken, it was hit close enough to him that he could short hop it.
And now Boggs, who's 0 for 2, fouls it back. He had an opposite field double in his first at-bat against Texas in the division series, then hitless in his next 12, 0 for 2 today, really bothered by back pain. Flew his personal chiropractor into Texas over the weekend to try and relieve some of that pain. And he, like O'Neill, just gutting it out. If these were regular season games, they might sit down for a while. Hop toward the seats. Ripken and Zeal for a look, but it's out of play. Now tomorrow, the left-hander David Wells goes. And we'll see what happens regarding Charlie Hayes, who almost surely will start at third base instead of Boggs against the left-hander, and see what, if anything, Joe Torre does with Paul O'Neill in right field.
Well, it's great to have a lot of guts and to play with guts, but I think there comes a time where if you're not helping your team, then you have to sit down. And I think that's something Joe Torre has to decide. And Wade Boggs, you appreciate a guy wanting to go out there and wanting to play hard. But if he can't be the Wade Boggs that you want or the Paul O'Neill that you want, maybe he shouldn't be out there.
0-2 pitch. Boggs hit .311 for the year. But this is not the same guy who over 162 games hit .311 and top 300 for the 14th time in 15 big league seasons.
Well, he almost looks like he's got slider speed bat now, Joe. When they really pound him with the fastball, he's behind.
Here's Erickson's 1-2 pitch. 2-2. Boggs is a career .333 hitter. 5-time batting champion. A couple of seasons removed from 3,000 hits. But that portfolio means nothing when the back is aching And when guys are throwing you nasty pitches. And there's some evidence of it. He just could not get a good swing at that pitch. And Boggs, who rarely strikes out, the third most difficult to fan in the American League, strikes out with a runner in scoring position here. Sunday, NBC Sports presents more exciting NFL action at the special time of 12 noon Eastern. With the NFL on NBC, most of you will see an AFC East showdown. Bills hosting the Dolphins. Some will see the Steelers against the Bengals. Others get the Jets and the Jaguars, or the Oilers taking on the Falcons. As always, it is wise to check your local listings. Here's Bernie Williams. RBI ground out and a strikeout. Sliced to left and in the seats foul. Bernie Williams at age 28 might just be hitting his prime. He is a terrific all-round player. The division series provided a national showcase, and even more so now. And yet again if they advance to the World Series.
Well, they had another guy here that they traded to Milwaukee in that deal that brought Graham Lloyd and Pat Listash here by the name of Gerald Williams, who they thought was a better center fielder if you're talking about running the ball down. But overall, I mean, Williams nowhere near the hitter this guy is. Gerald Williams, in difference to Bernie Williams. But they did say that Gerald Williams was the faster of the two. But this guy, I'll tell you what, when this guy gets a beat on the ball, once he gets in gear, into the gaps, he runs them down.
And he's great around the fences, as we saw in Texas. When he pulled a potential home run back off the bat of Rusty Greer. Jeter at second with 2 out. A single could tie it. 3-2 Baltimore, bottom of the 5th. Jeter singled to deep short, then immediately stole second, but the Yankees haven't been able to move him along. One and 2 to Williams.
That's what a sinker will do to you a lot of times. Ball down and in. Bernie Williams getting on top of it and driving it off of his foot. Here it is one more time. Ow! Did that ball hit him in the knee? That ball looked like it hit him in the knee or up around the shin. Take another look at it. That ball hit him right in the knee. And Bernie Williams still trying to walk it off. It's bad enough when you hit one off your instep. But when you hit one off your kneecap, you're really out in front and you're really hurting.
Wonder if Mo Vaughn has a knee pad he can loan him. Since he's the assistant equipment manager, apparently, for the Yankees in the postseason. Jeter a lead away from second. And the 1-2 pitch coming to Bernie Williams. 2-2. Erickson, as Bob Uecker noted at the beginning of the game, lost his only 2 decisions against the Yankees this year, but actually pitched very well. And he was Davey Johnson's best starting pitcher in September. Mike Mussina, who won 19, had 4 cracks at his 20th victory and couldn't get it. 3-2. Erickson, on the other hand, won 5 of his last 6 regular season decisions. All the starters for the Orioles got Davey Johnson into the 7th inning in the division series against Cleveland, something they did not always do during the regular season.
Well, the book on Erickson is if you can stay close to him, you know, you have a chance of beating him in the late innings. So that's what the Yankees will make sure they try to just stay close.
And the 3-2 pitch. Walked him. Erickson generally has excellent control. That's his 2nd walk of the day. He struck out 2. And now Constantino Martinez out of Tampa, Florida, where his father was a high school baseball teammate of Lou Piniella. Grounded out and single. Looking for his first postseason RBI. But Palmeiro will deny him. And flip it to Ripken covering at second as the Yankees leave 2 and still trail by 1 after 5 in the Bronx. The Goodyear Blimps Stars and Stripes providing the pictures from above Yankee Stadium. Goodyear Blimps now in their 4th decade of live sports coverage. Rafael Palmeiro, who has walked and homered, takes a strike as we move to the 6th. This guy has one of the most fluid, classic swings you'll find anywhere in baseball.
A lot of people in Texas are still talking about it. I know that. There's a lot of people in Texas, Bob, that were really upset when Palmeiro left the Rangers. You're right. He's got a great swing. He's a good first baseman, too. And, of course, with power, we've seen that.
With the Cubs before the Rangers and now in Baltimore, fouled out a play 1 and 2.
You know, he's one of those guys against left-handed pitching, not because he hit the home run here today, but he hangs in there pretty well against left-handed pitching. You're going to fool him from time to time down and away like you do everybody else. But I'll tell you what, left-handers make mistakes on him inside to the middle. He hurts you.
2 and 2. Led the team with a club record 142 RBIs. When you throw out Mark Parent, who's batting 9th, who's a part-time player, the lowest RBI total in the entire lineup is Eddie Murray's 79. The leadoff man has 50 home runs.
Yeah, this is a tough lineup to work through. I don't care who you are and how hard you throw or what you have or what you do. This is a very, very tough lineup.
Payoff pitch. And we'll do it again.
You pitch from behind on these guys, Bob, as he is now on Palmeiro. You don't want to walk him, but you pitch from behind, and if he can sit on a fastball, left-hander, right-hander, he stays up there. And as you said, he got a nice, easy swing, and the ball jumps off.
And he draws a walk to start the 6th. The second time Pettit has walked him today, and the one time he didn't, he regretted it. A first pitch home run. That's not a stopwatch. That's a pitch counter. Keeping track of how many pitches Pettit has thrown as we move into the 6th inning. And that total would be 85 as of right now. Bonilla's 0 for 2. He said the turning point of his season came when the Orioles got Eddie Murray back. Murray became the DH, and Bonilla knew that he would play in the outfield and leave behind what for him was the dreaded DH role. And the numbers back him up. As a DH, he hit just .221 with 2 homers in 163 at-bats. But when playing the outfield, look at that, .304 with 25 homers.
The DH role is certainly a great role for certain players. But there are those guys who are young enough and want to play defense. I think it takes away from you. I really do. It doesn't keep you in the game. I think in Bonilla's case, too, Bob, he was mad. He was angry all the time. Every time he came to the ballpark, every day he came to the ballpark, he was mad because he knew he was going to be the DH. Once you get yourself in the lineup where you're going to play defensively, it's a whole new story. It's a whole different story.
On the other hand, it's one thing to have your preferences. It's another thing to be mad. When you're a big league ball player, you make good money, you're on a good team. Wraps it foul, and it holds at 0-2.
He's not the only guy that doesn't like the DH role and
I understand that.
himself.
But you know what I'm saying,
oh,
too.
yeah, I understand
and
that.
It's not just Bobby. It's lots of guys.
a lot of guys.
They make a quantum leap from mild annoyance to extreme anger and discontent.
Well, whatever that means, yes.
There you go. It's the way I'm beginning to feel up here. Here's the pitch. 1-2. Extreme discontent. It hasn't been entirely smooth sailing for Davey Johnson in his first year as the Orioles manager. Cal Ripken wasn't thrilled about a few games at third. Randy Myers wasn't thrilled about not always being the closer 100% of the time. Bonilla didn't like the DH. At At mid-season, they were 12.5 back. In fact, they were a game under 500 on July 31st. And there was talk of deals that would have sent David Wells away and maybe this guy Bonilla.
Hey, even B.J. Surhoff got involved in some of that stuff over there. He thought he was going there strictly to play third base.
Then when they got Zeal, Surhoff became a sometime DH and sometime left fielder. Bonilla lays off, and it's 2-2. In fact, the way the story goes, Joe, at mid-season, Pat Gillick, the highly respected GM, was ready to make some deals involving veteran players. And Peter Angelos, the owner, stepped in and said, wait a minute, we still got a shot at the wild card. We're one of the richest teams in baseball. We sell out every game. I don't want to gut this team. The 2-2 pitch. Tries to wait on the off-speed pitch and skies one to left. Raines is there for out number 1.
Well, I'm going to have to disagree with you guys a little bit in that sometimes the player does know what's best. And I mean that because Bobby Bonilla knows what's best for him to help the team in playing, and I think it's proven that he was right by when they put him back as in the field, he actually performed better for the team. I think sometimes you feel like you can help the team more by doing certain things, and you may not always agree with the manager. But I agree with you. A lot of times guys are mad for no reason at all.
Ripken has doubled and struck out. Yeah, my point isn't necessarily that Bonilla was incorrect, only that a lot of guys ought to chill a little bit.
I agree with that. Guys should chill and have fun. The game should be fun.
My point was so long ago, I don't remember what it was.
And Pettit works to Ripken, but first another throw over to first. Three runs, 4 hits, and an error for Baltimore. 2-4-0 for New York. Top of the 6th. And Ripken will have to shake that one off. Could read his lips. Ow.
Well, that cut fastball is down and in, and he hits it right off the ground. It actually gets his foot in the ground about the same time. But you can tell that it does annoy you to get hit off the foot.
Did that hit him in the knee, Joe, again?
No, that hit the foot. That was the foot.
I hate that.
The 0-1 pitch. A ball and a strike. Only 3 players played in every one of their team's games this year. Craig Biggio and Jeff Bagwell of Houston, and of course Ripken, keeping the streak alive with just 2 innings the last day of the year after the wild card was clinched in Toronto. 23-16 going back to 1982. Told us the other day that when he first came up, the Rookie of the Year in '82, the race in the AL East, it was just divisional play, no wild card, then goes to the final day against Milwaukee. The next year they win the division. They win the World Series against Philadelphia. He said, hey, I thought it would be like this every year. It's been 13 years between postseason appearances. Here he is again. Pettit's 2-1 pitch. Hit to the hole and through. Ripken's second hit of the day. 2 on with 1 out for Baltimore as Palmeiro stops at second.
Well, if you're going to throw that cutter, you can't leave it out over the plate against these right-handed hitters. And watch Ripken reaches out to get this ball. See, it's over the middle of the plate, and he rips it in the hole for a base hit. Well, see, he's having fun. That's the way it's supposed to be.
The one thing that amazes me about Ripken, Joe, through this whole streak, the fact that I know he's hit balls off of his foot and off of his instep and his knee and what have you.
Eddie Murray taking a ball.
But how many guys have you seen get hit like that and it puts them out of commission? I mean, Pat Listash, good illustration, a guy who was traded here and they found he had a broken bone after fouling a ball off his foot the night before the trade. But here's a guy that's done it time and time again and has maintained that unbelievable streak.
2-0 to Murray. Well, for perspective's sake, the longest current streak other than Cal's is Biggio's 219. The longest streak anybody had during Cal's was an overlap, one of the longest of all time. Steve Garvey, 1,207. That was underway before Cal broke into the major leagues and ended when Garvey broke his thumb in the early 80s. Rolled foul, 2-1. And the longest streak anybody has had since Cal's began was Jeff Conine of Florida with just over 300 straight. So no one else is even close. This is in the stratosphere compared to everybody else.
I tell you, Bob, a couple of years ago, Jesse Orozco was pitching for Milwaukee, and he hit Ripken in the foot with a pitch that took him out of the game. And I thought to myself there was no way he'd be able to come back the next day. But he was there. He took infield, did everything.
Murray's 0 for 2. And Pettit works on 2-1. Misses inside. 3 balls and a strike to the Oriole DH. B.J. Surhoff next.
Let's take a look at these pitches that are just off the plate inside to these right-handed hitters. And you see Larich is set up inside, and that ball is just off the plate inside. He's missing by about 3 or 4 inches, and that's causing him a problem here.
And now, with the walk, the bases are loaded. Well, in the 5th, the Orioles threatened to put some distance between themselves and the Yankees, but they couldn't add to their 3-2 lead as Pettit stranded a couple. Now, with 2 walks and a Ripken single thrown in, Stottlemyre comes racing to the mound, and the Orioles have the bases loaded with 1 out in the 6th for Surhoff.
Well, Pettit, as you look at the Yankee bullpen, nothing doing out there as of yet. Pettit, well, there may be something doing in a moment. Joe Torre on the horn, and there is some activity in the Yankee bullpen right now. But Andy Pettit, as we talked at the top of the show, David Weathers getting up in the New York bullpen. Pettit, in his opening assignment against Texas, Bob, 6+ innings. He walked 6 in that game and left, trailing by a score of 4-1, only to have the Yankees come back and win for him. Not for him, but come back and win the game.
Surhoff 8 for 13 with the bases loaded this year. Swings on the first one and fouls it off.
And one of the reasons that he has hit so well against Pettit is because Pettit keeps that ball out over the plate away from him. BJ likes that ball out there. You have to come inside to keep him honest every once in a while. Like that.
A ball and a strike. Surhoff is 0 for 2. Duncan made a nice play on him from the outfield grass and right his first time up. And then Martinez made a brilliant play, robbing him of a double with a dive at first base in the 5th. 2 balls and a strike. Palmeiro at 3rd. He opened with a walk. After Bonilla flied out, Ripken, who's now at 2nd, singled to left. Then Murray followed with a walk to load the bases. 2-1 pitch to Surhoff. In the air to center field, should be deep enough to score a run. Palmeiro tags. Williams does not have a great arm. His throw is to 3rd. Palmeiro scores. 4-2 Baltimore.
Well, Surhoff gets the job done because you definitely want to make sure you give yourself one more run, kind of an insurance run. A base hit, of course, is what he was trying to get, but the Orioles will settle for the fly ball. You see, they congratulate him for getting the job done.
Now, Pettit has walked 4 in this game, and 2 have scored now. 2 of the 4 walks have scored. Both have been Palmeiro.
Now Parent grounded out and singled. Palmeiro has scored 2 runs after walking, and he homered earlier, so he has 3 runs scored and an RBI. The other run on a solo homer by Brady Anderson. With all the great first basemen in the game, Palmeiro doesn't even make the All-Star team every year, but every year he's hitting 300, hitting 30 or so home runs. The last 2 years, 39 each time, around 100 RBIs. This ball's hit right on the nose, but Bernie Williams is right there. The Orioles get 1, they leave 2. Yanks come up with a 6, down 4-2. The DH Cecil Fielder, followed by Paul O'Neill and Mariano Duncan in the bottom of the 6th. Scott Erickson with the 4-2 lead, and he's really pitched well enough to have a shutout at this point. Hit toward the middle. Alomar with a dive. Can he get Fielder? With the help of a Palmeiro scoop, he can. A truly great play by Roberto Alomar, who knew that with Fielder running, it was still possible to get him from that position.
Well, it's a great play. As you mentioned, he dives, but what he does best is he does not have to get up. You know, most second basemen from this distance would get up and take the time to throw Fielder out. He throws from his knees and makes an accurate throw, and he gets a little help from his friend at first base, Palmeiro, and Fielder is out easily. Great play there.
That's a heck of a play by Alomar. It really is. That was one of those plays, Joe, where you might take a chance on flipping it to Ripken coming across, but he didn't have to.
O'Neill goes the opposite way. This one is carrying. This one's back at the wall, and Surhoff with the running catch a half step from the barrier. O'Neill thought he might have had an opposite field home run, and he didn't miss by much. Tomorrow afternoon, we're back out here at 3 Eastern time with the 4 o'clock start. Most of the kids had time to get home from school. Here they'll have to race back as soon as that bell rings, but that still allows us to bring you must-see TV on Thursday night, which means all new episodes of Friends, The Single Guy, Seinfeld, Suddenly Susan, and ER, America's favorite night of television. NBC Thursday with afternoon baseball at 3 Eastern time. Game 2, the Yankees and the Orioles. Duncan's 0 for 2. And Erickson's 0-1 pitch misses outside.
I tell you what, they talked about Pettit being the big guy in this game to open this series for New York. Scott Erickson has really pitched a heck of a game. He really has. He stayed right with his stuff that got him here. Sinker, sinker, sinker. Once in a while a slider. Only allowed 4 hits. And a couple of cheapies at that.
Well, Mike Mussina is the ace of this staff, but Erickson actually pitched best down the stretch.
And Duncan with a base hit. A 2-out single for the Yankees second baseman.
Well, you see how important that play Alomar made, because now they would have runners at first and second. This pitch gets in on him a little bit. That sinker jams him, but he hits it in the hole. Cal tries to track it down, but he can't quite get there. As you see, the ball goes into the outfield. And Mariano Duncan has the 5th base of the ball game for the Yankees.
Which makes Leyritz the tying run at the plate. He hit 7 in limited duty this year. And there's a base hit to right. Bonilla up with it as Duncan stops at second. A pair of 2-out singles, and that'll bring up Jeter.
A lot of times we discount a play as being important if it happens on the first out of the inning. But if he would make that same play with runners at first and second, you'd say it was a great play. And that's what would have happened had he not gotten a great play against Fielder. And watch Leyritz. This pitch is out over the plate. He goes the other way. Fortunately for Leyritz, the pitch was up a little bit, and he's able to hit the hole. But he was going to right field all the way. He was taking advantage of that hole on the right side.
Jeter's 2 for 2 with a stolen base. A bouncer to Ripken that'll get them out of the inning with Alomar covering. 2 singles go to waste for New York after 6. Still 4-2 Baltimore in game 1. A decade ago, Jesse Orozco, working out of the Met bullpen for manager Davey Johnson, won 3 games and saved another in the LCS against Houston. And he was on the mound when they wrapped up the World Series against the Red Sox. One of the most remarkable, in fact, bordering on unbelievable World Series ever. He's not quite the pitcher he was then, but he's had his moments. Reunited with Johnson in Baltimore. Brady Anderson struck out, homered, and walked. Swings on the first one and lifts a mile-high pop that Duncan wants. And there's the first out on the 7th. Davey Johnson has been to the World Series as a player and as a manager. In the other dugout, Joe Torre, despite a very distinguished big league career that totals over 4,000 games combined as a player and a manager, has never seen the World Series in uniform. There you see Joe's record. Mets, Braves, Cardinals, Yankees. He's had some good clubs and some mediocre ones, and his career record is below 500. Davey Johnson has the highest career winning percentage of any active big league manager.
And he's been fired twice from the Mets, and he had a great record, and from Cincinnati.
A strike to Zeal. Well, the situation in Cincinnati was very peculiar, as are many things in the reign of Marge Schott. He knew during the course of a season where they won the Central, won the first round, and made it to the LCS against the Braves, he knew he was gone at the end of the season. And Ray Knight was the manager in waiting. Todd Zeal, who played for Joe Torre in St. Louis for several years. A 2-1 count to him. He's 0 for 3.
Guy that was in that number 2 spot there, Bob. We talked about him the other day in Texas or in San Diego, wherever we were. Philippe Luke is the guy that's done a great job.
In left field, it's Raines. All this traveling around, I guess.
I don't remember where we were.
You might not remember where you were. Texas, San Diego.
It was in San Diego. It was in San Diego.
I believe it was San Diego, yeah. Well, here's Alomar again. And it seems that each time, while the booing remains loud, the decibel level goes down just a little bit. In the division series, Juan Gonzalez, who was murdering the Yankees, was showered with fruit, coins, batteries. There were ugly incidents in the 70s here in the World Series between the Yankees and Dodgers in 77 and 78. Lou Piniella pulled the Mariners off the field during the division series last year. Hit hard to left, and it drops in front of Raines, and there is Alomar's first hit of this series, a 2-out single in the 7th. Ken Griffey Jr. and Jay Buhner complained that objects were thrown in their direction. So some of the New York fans appear to have little acquaintance with the writings of Emily Post and Latita Baldridge, but they've confined themselves to booing today, and that's just fine.
Van, all right, once again back live with you from the Channel 4 newsroom. We want to go right to Joe Louis Arena, where Scotty Bowman has joined our Fred Heumann live for an interview. Fred.
Okay, Van, real quickly, if you haven't heard details of the trade, Keith Primo, Paul Coffey, and a #1 pick to Hartford for Brendan Shanahan and defenseman Brian Glynn. Scotty Bowman, the coach of the Red Wings, with me now. Yesterday it was dead. What happened?
Well, as you know, the biggest stumbling block in these kind of situations have been the contracts of the players. And in fact, with Keith Primo, I had a contract that wasn't here. But after talking with Hartford, we both Jimmy Rutherford and myself, worked real hard on this trade. They were getting what they wanted, and we were getting what we wanted, and they said, let's go ahead with it and hope that they can come to an agreement with Keith.
So do I understand it, Scotty, Keith Primo has accepted the terms of his original deal?
No, I don't understand that part of it. They said that they would take him on the basis of, you know, he had a contract with us, and they'll work the rest out.
Very tenuous week around here. One I'm sure you're glad is over. Are you relieved more than anything to get a trade that you wanted very badly done?
Yeah, you know, I was concerned that maybe some permanent damage would be done, because you can't have a team waiting for the shoe to fall all the time. And whether Shanahan would have been traded or not somewhere else, they probably would have been saying, well, they tried to trade Paul Coffey and didn't work, tried to trade Primo, didn't work. And I don't think you can have that situation. So, you know, it's nobody's fault. Those things happen. It's a very complicated business now. And that's the way we have to treat it. And you know, these things aren't easy. I just try to tell the younger players that this is not a normal kind of trade. It was very complicated.
Everyone tells me that Brendan Shanahan, in addition to being one of the top 10 players in the league, is a character player. Is that one of the big reasons you wanted to get him beyond his talent?
Yeah, he brings, I think, a full package. You know, Fred, he's also good on television. So.
Is he?
Oh, he's supposed to be very
Can I get him live in about 2 minutes?
Well, we hope he's here tonight. But no, he's been wanting to come here. That's one thing that we knew. But it took a lot to do it. And, you know, I think both teams got what they wanted. And we're hopeful that it works out for both teams.
I guess they're already stitching up number 14. Aaron Ward has agreed to give it up. Is there any chance Shannon will be on the ice tonight?
Yeah, he's supposed to play.
He will play.
Oh,
tonight.
yes.
So he'll be here for the introductions as long as his plane isn't late.
That's right, as long as the traffic on I-94 isn't too bad.
Finally, whether you had a good relationship with Paul Coffey or not, the fans loved him. Did you talk to him, your sentiments?
He wouldn't talk to me.
He would not talk to you?
Not after the... I was trying to reach... he was in the room, and he just... he was so upset at everything. He just wanted to get out of here.
Who told him about the trade?
Well, I think there was a lot of rumors, like on the radios and that today. I don't know what happened. There was supposed to be a leak out of Hartford, not from the team, but some limo driver from that took Shanahan to the airport. But I don't really know. But I want to just try to explain the situation. But I understand those things.
Do you know anything about the possible Hartford deal with Philadelphia? It's not your business,
no,
I know.
It's none of our business.
Yeah, all right. Okay, Scotty, thanks so much for joining us. Brendan gets here, send him out. He says he's good on television. Maybe since the Red Wings don't have a PR director yet, Van Earl, Scotty will send Brendan out for us. We don't see him yet. They are waiting for him. The fans here are waiting for the start of the game, but as you heard Scotty say, this just happened in the last couple of hours, and Paul Coffey didn't speak to him. And as I reported earlier, Coffey just whisked by reporters earlier as he got in his car as I was arriving at the arena, seemed very angry, and preferred not to comment and told reporters there, I don't even know where I'm going. So, Van Earl, that's the story here from Joe Louis Arena. What a pregame show, huh?
Got about that, Fred Heumann, and I can add that I was able to talk to Paul Coffey just a few minutes ago. And he's very disappointed that he's unable to finish his hockey career with the Detroit Red Wings. But, of course, in his usual first-class approach and demeanor, he said, hey, that's just part of the business, and he'll just have to accept it. Of course, it would be nice if he was told by somebody where the future of his hockey career lies. That'll do it for now. More details to follow, and, of course, a complete report coming up tonight on the Night Beat. But the trade, the much-anticipated trade, is complete. Brendan Shanahan is now a Detroit Red Wing.
He'll take 3 pitches in a row. He's a little more patient from the right side. Yeah.
If he gets something here, he's hacking. Swings away on the 3-0 pitch. And the Yankees will get out of the inning. The Orioles have stranded 2 in each of the last 3 innings with 1 run to show for their trouble. And a 4-2 lead, stretch time in the Bronx.
NBC's coverage of today's American League Championship Series is brought to you by Genuine Chevrolet, the cars more Americans trust. By J.C. Penney, celebrating 94 years of serving you. By MetLife, get Met, it pays. And by Adidas.
Andy Pettit hardly thrilled with what's transpired thus far. But his team is still in the game as we move to the bottom of the 7th. And Tim Raines starts it against Erickson. In early August, Scott Erickson had a record of 5-10. And his ERA was about 5.5. Since then, he's lowered the ERA about a half run. Still doesn't look all that pretty at 5.02. But considering where he started from, and considering that he winds up 13-12, so from that point, he went 8-2 to close the season. His season's figures don't really reflect the kind of pitcher he is at this moment. And he's been very effective here this afternoon. As we mentioned earlier, in case you're just joining us, had he had better defense behind him, he might be working on a shutout right now. Raines lifts one to right, and Bonilla scarcely has to move. Speaking of Bonilla, let's go back to the last out in the top of the 7th. He swings at this 3-0 pitch.
Bob, if you're going to swing 3-0, you want to pitch right in there that you can drive. He ends up swinging at one low and away that he can't really drive. Otherwise, you should take this pitch. Watch where the pitch ends up, down and away. You can't do anything with that other than what he did, pop it up. But if you get that ball in the middle of the plate, he can drive it. Take a look at this pitch. See how he reaches for it. I mean, if you're going to swing 3-0, you have to get a pitch you can handle and hammer someplace. But when you let a free swinger swing 3-0, that's what you get sometimes.
So now Boggs 0 for 3 today, 1 for 15 in the postseason. And doing it all through clenched teeth with that troublesome back.
I have never seen Wade Boggs swing the bat as poorly as he has, you know, this last 2 series. He's a great hitter.
You know, I agree with what you said earlier, Joe. I mean, when you get to a certain point, pain-wise, where you're not helping anybody, you're hurting your club by keeping yourself in the lineup. It gets to that point where you got to say, I don't think I can go today.
On 4 pitches, he draws a walk. That's his first walk of the postseason, which also is uncharacteristic. Usually, he mixes 100 or so walks in during the season, so he has a very high on-base percentage to go with the 300-plus average.
Now, this is all Joe Torre can ask. I mean, every time you get somebody on, you get the tie and run up there, Bob, and that's all you can ask for against Erickson. He's pitched a heck of a game tonight. You can't take it away from him.
You know, you have the sense with the way Erickson has pitched, and with the 2 home runs by the Orioles, Anderson and Palmeiro, and with all the base runners the Orioles have had the last few innings, that they've dominated the game. But again, the Yankees put the tying run at the plate with only 1 out. And there's a strike to Williams.
Unless this guy makes a terrible mistake against Bernie Williams, I mean, he can drive the ball the other way. He can hit you out left field as a left-handed batter or to the right side as a right-handed batter. We've seen him do that. But unless this guy makes a terrible mistake against him, he's going to try to make him hit a ground ball.
As you see, a disproportionate number of Williams' homers were hit right-handed. Tap foul, including 2 of the 3 he hit in the division series. When you consider on average a switch hitter will get about 1/3 of his at-bats from the right side, if that, and that Williams hit 16 of his 29 homers right-handed. Yeah, he is, like a lot of natural right-handers, he throws right-handed, a more powerful hitter from that side.
I talked to him before the game about that, and he said basically if he gets a lot of at-bats from the left side in a row, he feels just as comfortable from the left side.
Erickson's 0-2 pitch. Hit well to right. Bonilla back. Bonilla leaping. And did he hold on? The ball comes out. The ball comes out. And the Yankees are going to have runners at second and third, provided Boggs gets there, which he barely does. Bonilla with a great effort. Nearly a terrific catch, but crashing into the wall, the ball is jarred free.
I mean, that is a great catch, but you see he caught it down toward the palm. If he would have caught it in the web, it would have stayed. Now watch where this ball hits. Hits right in the middle of the glove, and that's the worst place to hit a guy. Watch, right there in the middle. See, he can't close his glove around it. He hits the wall, and it bounces away, and no one knows what to do because it looked like he made the catch.
And Williams almost catches up with Boggs, who had to wait between first and second to see if Bonilla caught it. And then Boggs was barely able to beat the throw into third.
Bernie Williams, for a moment, thought he caught that ball, Bob. And as he went around the bag, once he realized and once he saw the ball drop, that's when he really lit out for second and pulled up very quickly because Boggs was just turning the bag. Going to be all for Erickson here.
In comes Orozco. Tying runs are aboard, and we'll be right back.
Watch this bizarre play. Bernie Williams hits a line drive. He doesn't get it up high enough. It appears that Bobby Bonilla makes the catch, but Bernie Williams is not sure. Now he knows that it's a hit, but he can't run past Boggs. But the bench is where all the excitement is. Now watch, they get up, they think it's gone, they see it's not gone. Watch Paul O'Neill right here. He says he caught it, and then Cecil Fielder says no, and he's the only one that's right.
And Orozco comes on in relief of Erickson to face Martinez, who is 2 for 14 lifetime against the veteran left-hander. They check at third, and Dan Morrison said no, he didn't go around, ball 1.
Well, if you're the Yankees, you just have to hope that Martinez can at least get the runner in from third. You would hate to have this rally die. So you will not be upset if he pulls the ground ball to the right side.
Another guy talking about Orozco, who's going to try to make you hit a breaking ball, too, as a left-handed hitter.
And a called strike. Orozco is 39 years old. This postseason loaded with ancient relievers. Honeycutt, Eckersley, Orozco, past the Gatorade and the Geritol. A decade worth of Octobers ago, across town at Shea, Orozco involved in so many great moments for a terrific Met team. His 1-1 pitch to Martinez is cut on and missed.
And Orozco is very tough on the left-handed hitter. They've hit .216 against him for the season. And the thing that makes him tough is watching, well, he sidearms the ball. You don't really get a good look at it. You can't pick the ball up. And you see the breaking ball, and you go after it, but it just keeps diving out of the strike zone. And watch Orozco's motion. See, he hides the ball, and then he kind of sidearms it. Very tough on a left-handed hitter.
And Martinez stays alive against Cleveland. Orozco had a disastrous outing. Couldn't find his control. Walked 3, hit a man. Pitched an inning, giving up 4 runs. Took the only loss that Baltimore absorbed in the 4 games against Cleveland.
But he came in the next time he pitched, and he did a great job. So, I mean, that's what you want. That's why he's a veteran. That's why you want veterans in divisional play, because if they make mistakes, you give them the next chance, and they usually perform better.
Davey Johnson said overall this guy's been his most solid pitcher out of the bullpen this year.
Once his closer with the Mets, now a situational guy in Baltimore. Fouled back again.
Well, he got away with a breaking ball there. He hung one finally on Martinez, had the cut and fouled it back, but Jesse knew he got away with one that time. One more time, take a look at this breaking ball. He stayed down and away from Martinez. Check this one. That's a hanging breaking ball about belt high right down the middle. Got away with it.
Ooh. There are times you go to the plate in certain situations you have to put the ball in play. This is one of those situations.
Another 1-2 pitch. 2-2. Bottom of the 7th. Boggs at 3rd. Williams at 2nd. 1 out. The count 2-2 to Tino Martinez. And Baltimore trying to protect a 4-2 lead. Orozco in relief of Erickson, who was very effective. But with a base hit, all of Erickson's good work could be erased. Struck him out.
Great job there by Orozco. Well, we'll take a look. It's another breaking ball. It starts in the strike zone, which is what you want, and then it breaks out. See, it's a strike until he starts to swing, and it breaks out of the strike zone. Nice pitch here by Orozco. Again, it's difficult to pick him up, but there are times, again, you have to put the ball in play, and Tino did not do that. Well, you got Cecil Fielder up. I don't think they're going to walk him, personally.
Well, it would put the lead run on, and Parent is holding the arm out. Paul O'Neill, a left-handed batter, is due next.
Well, I think it tells you, Bob, how much confidence Davey Johnson has in this guy, really. I mean, he's got O'Neill coming up next, and unless Joe Torre does something drastic, that's who Orozco is going to face.
Well, there are tough decisions to be made as a manager, and I think this is a tough one coming up for Joe Torre right here. Do you let Paul O'Neill hit against Orozco? If it's me, I say no, but I'm not the manager.
And O'Neill is going back, and here comes Charlie Hayes.
I think you have to do that.
Absolutely. The numbers plus the circumstances support Torre. Even though O'Neill made a bid for a home run flying out deep to the opposite field his last time up, he's 0 for 3 today. He's 2 for 18 in the postseason. He's playing with a very bad hamstring, and he's 0 for 9 lifetime against Jesse Orozco.
Actually, it wasn't that tough a decision, was it?
No. And either that, Joe, or you force Davey Johnson to make a change and bring in a right-hander. He's got somebody ready. But if he's nothing for 9 against Orozco, you got to like Orozco's chances here.
Well, not only that, you cannot let the other manager dictate everything that happens on the field. You cannot let the other manager box you into a corner, and that's what he would have done had he let Paul O'Neill hit. At least by doing this, he manages himself out of a corner. He puts it back on Davy Johnson. He makes him have to make a decision.
And the decision is that Orozco is going to pitch to Hayes. The very hard-throwing Armando Benitez is getting ready in the Baltimore bullpen. And maybe Davy was just trying to prolong it to give Benitez a little more time. I think this is the move. I really do. I mean, you can say what you want about 0-9, left-hander against right-hander. If this is the way Davy Johnson has done it, it's got to be Armando Benitez. This is another guy that's done a great job for him in the later going.
Well, I'm not so sure he's going to make the move, and I'll tell you why. The reason is when Benitez comes in, there's no guarantee that he can throw a strike in this situation. I think that if he comes in, you have to watch for him falling behind in the count.
Well, he can be wild, and the last pitch he threw with the bases loaded, Albert Bell jacked out of the park for a grand slam. We'll be back. Move and then counter move. Orozco taken out. The right-hander Armando Benitez comes in. And Charlie Hayes, who was to bat for Paul O'Neill, is called back. And look who grabs a bat. Darryl Strawberry with the bases loaded. Here comes the announcement. Good a player as Bernie Williams is, one of the best all-round players in the American League, I think it's fair to say that this Yankee team, unlike the teams of Ruth and Gehrig and DiMaggio and Mantle and Reggie Jackson, this team has no real focal point. The guy, even though he may be past his prime and he's not a regular, the guy who has the most presence on this team, the guy who can electrify a ballpark when he walks out of the dugout in a big situation, is still this guy. Say anything you want about him. His presence is a dramatic one, and in this situation, what more could you ask for? Bottom of the 7th, 4-2 Baltimore, bases loaded, 2 out. Ball 1 up and in. Benitez yielded a grand slam to Albert Bell in the division series. When they say he shook the catcher off several times with slider calls and just wanted to go mano-a-mano with Bell and challenge him with that great heat. Benitez throws in the mid-90s, but Bell turned it around. 2-0. Just as you said, Joe, if you worry about the control, now he's behind 2-0.
I was going to say, Joe brought up a great point before in saying bases are loaded, no place to put this guy. Joe is Strawberry now as the hitter. Right. Oh, you're up there looking for number 1 now. He's down 2-0.
Well, you look for a fastball in the middle of the plate, not one you have to reach for. But I want to make another point. All these moves that have been made, Bob, are not just for today. They're for the remainder of the series to tell them how they're going to play against each other.
The 2-0 pitch in there. Strawberry has 6 career grand slams. He had a 2-homer game against the Orioles at Camden Yards earlier this year.
That was a great fastball right there, though. That had some pop on it.
Yeah, cuts and misses, 2-2.
It's Strawberry now looking for heat, and this guy bringing it. Here it is.
Well, this is a tough pitch for Strawberry. He does not like the ball in. That's a fastball in. He likes the fastball out over the plate.
He's about a click and a half late on that one, too, Joe.
The 2-2. Oh, it didn't miss by much. Bonilla is almost on the warning track in right, and where else would he be? The runners will be going. But the story is in that 60-foot 6-inch lane between the rubber and the plate. Here it comes. He walks in a run.
And that's what you always fear when you go to the bullpen to bring in a young pitcher. You never know if he's going to be able to come in and close out the inning. That's why I thought he might have stayed with Orozco a little longer, even though Hayes was up. You see this pitch well off the plate inside. But you have to give Strawberry credit. He did not chase anything out of the strike zone. And the bench knows how important that one run is right there. Plus more pressure on Benitez now.
Mariano Duncan, notorious first pitch hitter, not a patient hitter, steps in and commits himself on the first pitch. In 400 at-bats this year, Duncan walked only 9 times in the course of hitting .340.
Well, everybody knows it. I mean, you start this guy off. If you start this guy off with something out of the strike zone, close out of the strike zone, he's chasing. But he's also a hacker. He'll hit balls down and away. He'll hit some of the ungodliest pitches you ever saw.
Lays off that one, a ball and a strike. Orioles 4, Yankees 3, bottom of the 7th. Game 1 of the league championship series. The Braves and Cardinals play game 1 tonight. Smoltz and Venice in Atlanta.
I was going to say, if I'm pairing here, I'm going with this guy's #1 pick. I'm going with heat here. I don't care what kind of slider he's got. I'm going to make these guys hit his fastball.
And Duncan couldn't.
I mean, the guy throws 90+ miles an hour, and to mess around, take a chance on a wild pitch or whatever here, you got to show me you can hit my heat before I do anything else. You're way ahead in the count or something, that's different. But when you're challenging, you're going after a hitter, you got to go with #1.
Fouled off, still 1-2. Leyritz on deck. A run home and the bases loaded in the 7th. Ernie Williams, Cecil Fielder, Darryl Strawberry, and Duncan fans to end it. They score 1 but leave them loaded. 4 3-0s. We started in some radiant October sunshine at Yankee Stadium. We'll finish up in darkness. Strawberry, who walked with the bases loaded as a pinch hitter, stays in the game in place of Paul O'Neill and plays right field. Andy Pettit is done, and Jeff Nelson comes out of the bullpen. Nelson is another guy whose season stats probably don't reflect the way he's pitching right now. He's been effective of late.
He's a big, hard-throwing right-hander. His big pitch lately, Bob, has been a breaking ball. He's got that big, snapping sidearm curveball, and he's especially tough against a right-handed batter. He's got a good enough fastball. He'll brush you back. He'll move you back off the inside, and then throw that big, sweeping sidearm curveball. He was a big part of the Seattle Mariners last year.
Ripken will start it against him in the 8th, followed by Murray and Surhoff. Cal hit 26 home runs this year and drove home 102. He's 36 years old now and told us the other day, all things considered, he thinks he can play and play regularly until he's 40.
And the question is, as a shortstop, or is he willing to move over to third?
In front of the plate, Leyritz out, and so is Ripken.
I want to show you something here. Darryl Strawberry on a 2-0 fastball from Benitez. Watch the expression that he had after that pitch. I was watching it, and it tells you that he said he can't believe this pitch. I mean, like right there. I mean, he's telling you that is a tough pitch right there. See that? I mean, he's telling you that pitch overpowered me. He wasn't up there to take it. See, he just couldn't hit it because it was too fast. You don't always take it because you think it's a ball. Sometimes you realize I can't hit that pitch.
That was a major slice of cheese, and he knew it. Eddie Murray had an RBI ground out, flied out, and walked.
Nelson, like most relievers, works from the stretch regardless of the situation. What's amusing you so much?
I kind of get a kick out of a pitcher every time he makes a really bad pitch, throws one way out of the strike zone, and they look back at something back on the mound.
Wait, watch this. This was just a bit inside.
Look at he's looking the wrong way.
Murray whacks it to center. Williams turns and makes the catch. Had some difficulty lining that one up. Hit almost directly over his head. A difficult play.
That was a slicing liner going away from Bernie Williams. As you said, Bob, he turned the wrong way on it and then got himself righted and made an easy catch. He made it look a lot tougher than it was. Eddie Murray hit it hard, but he started out the wrong way. Here he goes. He starts out to his left, now rights himself to his right and makes the catch.
Nelson trying to tell himself, keep the ball down, huh?
Well, if he doesn't, they'll tell him.
Either that or he's practicing for off-season basketball.
Surhoff to the plate. Robbed of hits his first 2 times up. Then delivered a sacrifice fly, which stands as the difference. It made it 4-2. It's 4-3 now.
You know, the one thing with this guy, Bob, that is so different in his season, in difference to what he was with the Brewers, he's really turned himself into more of a pull hitter, and it's something they always thought he could do and hit home runs. He's a big dude, and he's got power.
Well, he hit 21 this year.
He can catch, play third base. That was one of the things that he was worried about when he came over to Baltimore, the fact that Hoyles had problems last year and that they might want to stick him behind the plate. He came to Baltimore strictly wanting to play third base.
Surhoff playing with a tender knee, but they didn't want to bench him, not with those 3 home runs in the 4 games against Cleveland. That one's foul. What was the name of your play-by-play man in Major League? Harry Doyle, right?
Yeah, Harry Doyle.
Yeah, that would have been his call on the pitch to Murray, right?
Right.
Give it to us.
Just a bit inside.
Thank you very much. I heard there's going to be a Major League 3, huh?
It's in the making.
There you go.
Thanks to the Indians.
You trying to catch up with Death Wish or what? Rocky?
Yeah, Rocky.
Yeah.
Rocky 76.
Very nice. 2 out, nobody on. Top of the 8th, and Surhoff steps out. How about this atmosphere, Joe? Huh?
Great. I mean, this is fantastic. This is my first broadcast of a game in Yankee Stadium. And I was fortunate enough to play.
In the postseason, you mean?
Yeah, in the postseason. I was able to play in the 76 World Series here. And, I mean, I thought it was just great then. But, you know, this is just a great atmosphere.
It is. It's a great park.
And you hit a home run here in the All-Star game once, didn't you?
Yeah? You want me to go on?
No, that'll cover it.
All right.
And we have to stop anyway because Surhoff fans to end the inning. So much for your portfolio. A commercial coming up, and then the Yankees coming up in the 8th.
Now playing right field, number 1, Tony.
Lots of ways to point up the history of this ballpark. The Yankees have won 33 pennants and 22 World Championships through the years. There's the latest monument dedicated this past August to the late Mickey Mantle. And he joins Gehrig, Miller Huggins, and Babe Ruth. And, of course, there are plaques along the walls in Monument Park out behind the fence in left center honoring a number of other Yankees. Maris, Ford. And several others. But only Mantle, Huggins, Gehrig, and Ruth have the monuments. Armando Benitez in the 8th to Jim Leyritz, who swings and misses. Changes. Tony Tarasco is in right field, and Mike Devereaux is in left, defensively for the Orioles.
You know, Bob, in talking about this ballpark, and no matter how many times you come in here as a broadcaster, it's always great. I mean, this is a great setting most of the time, and especially in postseason play. But I'll tell you something. When you walk out of the dugout as a player and your first time in this ballpark, it's a little extra special. It really is. I go back to, excuse me, Bob, go back to the '64 World Series with the Cardinals before they made all the changes here when Yankee Stadium was in its originality. And to walk out of that dugout and take a look around this place, I mean, it's scary your first time in here.
2-2 to Leyritz. There's a possibility, at least, that 32 years later, the Yankees and Cardinals could reprise their World Series matchup of 1964. Jeter next, and then Raines. And the 2-2 pitch is a called strike 3. So Benitez has faced 3 hitters, walked Strawberry with the bases loaded, then fanned Duncan to end the inning, and then gets Leyritz to open the 8th.
Well, look at this. He does not have to throw a strike to Mariano Duncan. I mean, he was all over the place, up with a fastball, fouls it. That's a strike. Now he chases out of the strike zone. He did not throw strikes to Duncan. If he would have been able to take like Strawberry did, we may have a different ball game. But it's easy to say that from up here. He went up there to get a base hit, so he was aggressive.
Jeter, 2 singles, a stolen base, and a ground out. His last time up, he stranded 2. The Yankees have left 10 men on base, including the bases loaded in the 7th, and 2 runners in both the 5th and the 6th. In right field, Tarasco going back to the track, to the wall. And what happens here? He contends that a fan reaches up and touches it. But Richie Garcia says no, it's a home run. Here comes Davy Johnson out to argue as Jeter comes across to tie the game. Well, in postseason, you have an umpire down each line.
And he was there.
And Garcia was right there. The pitcher, Benitez, comes all the way out from the mound to argue.
But I don't know how he can tell from the mound.
I don't either. And I'll tell you one thing. That's great hustle. Great hustle by Richie Garcia.
Right.
The contention by Tarasco is that the ball is descending and the fan touches it. He's right. He's right.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
That ball was not in the seats. It's okay to catch it if it's over the wall, but if it's in the playing field, then it's not allowed. You're not allowed to touch it, and you can see that ball is touched right there. Nice catch by the kid, but you see right away Tarasco is pointing. I had the ball. I had the ball. I thought he was camped under it. See, he's nonchalant right there like he's going to catch it, and the kid, nice. Man, they need to line him up. Oh, he didn't catch it. This brought it in.
Yeah. You're right, Joe.
I mean, look at this. He just reaches out. I mean, he is at least...
Oh, he's way out.
...a foot onto the field.
Oh, he's way out.
And he makes the catch.
Oh, wow.
The way Tarasco was playing the ball, I'm not 100% sure he would have caught it. It might have hit off the top of the wall before he caught it, but there's no way it was going out. Either he was going to catch it, or it was going to hit the top of the fence for an extra base hit. It was not going to be a home run.
I believe he was going to catch it, Bob, because he didn't jump. He was stationary. If it was going to be over his glove, I think he would have been at a jump. See, watch, he's not going to jump. See, that ball's coming down. It's coming down. It's not going out. It was coming down. I think he would have caught the ball.
He catches that ball. Absolutely.
Well, I think if you're Davy Johnson, you have to get thrown out of the ball game right here. I mean, I know it's tough to do, but you have to make a point of saying, I can't let this happen to my ball club, especially on the road.
Well, if he goes down in the clubhouse and sees the replay on this thing, he may be out here again.
Yeah.
Oh, he's going to be livid.
Well, I think he is sure, because I think he saw how Tarasco went after the ball. He was not under any duress. He wasn't about to jump. He looked like he was stationary and about to reach up and catch the ball, and I think that's what Davy's going on.
Meanwhile, here's the kid receiving congratulations all around. He's affected possibly the outcome of the game. Certainly he's affected the course of the game.
And maybe the series, Bob. Maybe the championship series. Well, Davy Johnson's got a legitimate gripe here. You know what? And again, going back to what I said before about Richie Garcia, you got to give him credit. He hustled all the way out there. He was right there at the wall. He was at the fence. But when that ball came down, it was clearly caught inside the park.
But that is a tough call to make when you're on the run.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, we have an opportunity to sit here and watch the kid reach out. But when you're running out there, as Richie was, trying to get in position, it's difficult to see. But again, I mean, it's just one of those plays. See, Carrasco's still moving back, so you know Garcia has to be on the run. He's trying to get out there as well. See, he's waiting for it right there, and that ball is taken right over the fence.
And probably Garcia, Joe, with a head-on look. With a head-on look, instead of being at the wall where he could look across and see the fan actually reach out, looked at it straight on and thought that it was a home run.
So Jeter drives it to the opposite field. Carrasco all the way back to the fence. And as he prepares to make the play, the youngster reaches out with the glove and pulls it into the stands. If Garcia saw it that way, he's empowered to call the hitter out if he thought Carrasco would make the play.
We'll get one more look at this. Here's the angle that Richie Garcia was looking at right here. This is what I talked about a moment ago. He was looking straight on, just like we are, and may have thought that ball hit the top of the wall, Joe, or that the glove was not extended over the wall itself, and called it the home run. He was right there. Tony Carrasco is livid. Richie Garcia was right there.
Tie game at 4, and now Raines with a shot to right that could be extra bases. He's around first. Carrasco from the track with a good play to hold Raines, who still runs well, to a single.
You're right, Timmy Raines still runs well, but talking to him before the game, he said he still has a slight problem with his right hamstring, because in this type of a ball game, I think Timmy Raines would have tried to stretch that into a double.
The Orioles are playing the game under protest. But a protest never is upheld in a situation like this. It's a judgment call situation.
Yeah.
You have to blow a rule for a protest to have any chance of being upheld.
Yeah, you can't protest a judgment call. You can't win that. That's a judgment call.
If Carrasco, for the sake of argument, had jumped over the fence and reached out and a fan had interfered and battled him for the ball, that ball's live. He doesn't have any call for an interference call there. If a first baseman or third baseman or catcher reaches into the crowd on a foul ball, then it's kind of a jump ball situation. But when the ball is in the field of play and the fan reaches over, and if the umpire sees it that way, he can call the hitter out if he feels the play would have been made without the interference.
And you see, that's Brady Anderson and Carrasco. Brady was looking at an angle, and Carrasco is saying to him, look, I had the ball. I was going to catch it. I mean, it's just one of those plays.
Well, it's not the first time we've seen it happen, and it's not going to be the last. Unfortunate, but it's a run. It's a home run.
Pat Dobson, the Orioles pitching coach, went out there with the two left-handers, Arthur Rhodes and Randy Myers, warming up in the pen.
Armando Benitez got out there before Davy Johnson did. He was flying.
So now the hitter is Boggs, who's 0 for 3 with a walk. Raines at first. The tying run home on the disputed home run by Jeter. And a strike to Boggs. 1 out, bottom of the 8th. The Yankees with single runs in the 7th. And then 1 here in the 8th to tie it at 4 apiece. Neither Erickson nor Pettit will be involved in the decision now.
And this has been a trademark of the Yankees during these playoffs, scoring late in the ball game against the opposition's bullpens.
Andy Etchebarren, one of the coaches, the former Oriole catcher, is managing the team now, with Johnson having been ejected. And I would imagine by now, Johnson has been at least told by several people who saw the replay that he had a heck of a case.
John Stearns there, former Mets player.
Raines at first, with the count now 2-1 to Boggs. Stole 10 bases in limited duty this year. He missed several months with 2 bad hamstrings. He's 4th on the all-time stolen base list, behind Rickey Henderson, Lou Brock, and Ty Cobb. Fouled off 2-2.
You watch Boggs hit here, Joe, and we've talked about him probably with a back problem. The Oriole outfield is shifted way around toward left field. You got a guy out there who's throwing 90+, and yet Boggs is still pulling out. You see him pull out a little bit on that last fastball. I mean, he can drive a ball to left. I don't think he can pull this guy, but it looked like he's pulling out as he goes to start his swing. He's pulling that front foot out.
And I think, again, part of that is probably because of his back. You know, he's trying to help get the bat through the zone, but he's using his body to do it.
Bernie Williams is on deck. The 2-2 pitch with Raines going. A bouncer up the middle. Alomar misses Raines, throws to first, and gets Boggs.
That is a great play by Tim Raines. To have the presence of mind to be able to avoid a tag. He's on his way to steal the bag, and he runs right into Alomar. See, he's stealing the bag. He's not even watching the ball. He looks up, he sees where it is. Now he's able to avoid the tag by Alomar. Alomar quickly throws to first base to retire Boggs. I mean, this is a great play here by Tim Raines, and it was going to be a great play by Roberto Alomar. But Tim Raines makes a better play, and now they have a go-ahead run at second base.
How about the what-ifs, Joe? If he's not running, that's a base hit for Boggs. You might have runners at first and third.
First base open now, and Williams will be walked intentionally.
Well, the scouts watch Williams against Texas, and they say we're not going to let him beat us. And that's what Baltimore has decided to do in this situation.
And, of course, they have the 2 left-handers warming up down there. Williams is a switch hitter. Martinez, who's next, a left-handed batter. Myers was up a moment ago. Then he sat down, replaced by the right-hander Terry Matthews. The lefty is Arthur Rhodes.
Well, Randy Myers was up because they had a lead going into the 8th, and he thought he would finish the 9th if they still had the lead. He is their closer.
Now Andy Etchebarren goes to the mound. Andy Etchebarren caught Dave McNally 30 years ago today when McNally outdueled Drysdale 1-0, and the Orioles completed a sweep of the Dodgers in the World Series on a Frank Robinson homer. He goes to his pen. This game is tied in the 8th as a result of a bizarre and controversial play where a young fan reached over the fence and took the catch away from Tony Tarasco. It was ruled a home run. It appeared that Rich Garcia missed the call. Jim Gray hustles out into the lower right field stands and finds the kid. Here's Jim.
All right, we're out here in the outfield. Can you tell us what you did? What's your name, son?
Jeff Mayer.
Jeff, you stuck your mitt over, caught the ball. It's the difference in the game right now.
Wow, it's pretty unbelievable, and I didn't think it would ever happen to me.
You didn't get to keep the ball. You lost the ball, didn't you?
Yes, unfortunately.
What's going through your mind right now? You're the hero of all of New York and the Yankees. You weren't even involved in the game. Now all of a sudden you've had such a big impact.
It's just unbelievable, and I feel like just like something amazing has happened. I can't really think of anything much else to say.
They're chanting your name. Pretty exciting, isn't it?
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
All right, let's go back to Bob Costas.
Well, that's one perspective. But Jeff Mayer, even if he were of age, certainly couldn't be elected mayor of Baltimore right now. He's an innocent kid who is excited to reach out and have a chance to catch a baseball at a big league game. Looks like he's 12, maybe 13 years old. You can't blame him individually, but you don't want fans involved in affecting the outcome of the game. And what happened was very unfair to the Baltimore Orioles.
Absolutely, Bob. I mean, there's that announcement made prior to every game. Anyone interfering with a batted or thrown ball will be ejected from the ballpark. I mean, it happens day in and day out. And you know, one of the parks that you see it happen more often than not in is Baltimore, with that little fence in left.
All right, here comes Arthur Rhodes. 9-1 record for the year. He faces Tino Martinez and starts him with a ball. The last time up, Martinez batted against Jesse Orozco, a left-hander brought in specifically to face him, and he struck out. He's 1 for 4 today. Hasn't had much success so far in the postseason. In there for a strike. 1-1. 2 out, 2 on. Raines is at second. Williams, who was walked intentionally to set up this situation, is at first. A run home on the homer by Jeter. A homer that probably shouldn't have been. And this ball is hit into right field with Tarasco in pursuit. And he stumbles a little bit before making the catch. This is Tarasco's first inning in the game, and an inning he won't soon forget. We go to the 9th, tied at 4 at Yankee Stadium. Our thanks to Captain Richard Daniels and his crew in the Goodyear blimp for their shots, assisting us in today's telecast. And now back on terra firma, Tony Tarasco letting all of his buddies in the dugout know exactly what happened. Young Mr. Mayer reached over and changed the course of events. I was all set to catch it, says Tony, and then all of a sudden, boom.
Well, if something like this happened at the Boston Gardens, they would say, you know, it was the luck of the Irish, or the little F, or
the little leprechaun.
Leprechaun, yeah, the little leprechaun did it.
Well, you know, out of concern for how they might react to Alomar and to a lesser extent Bonilla, they kept warning the New York fans not to throw things. They didn't tell them not to catch things. So now Wetland comes out of the bullpen with the game tied at 4 in the 9th. And Parent swings and misses. Does it surprise you that it's Wetland here rather than Rivera, Joe?
Yes, it does me, because he's used Rivera first and then Wetland second. And I think maybe that tells us that he's not going to use Rivera today. Maybe he's planning on Wetland going this 1 inning. If they do not score in the bottom, maybe he'll go to someone else, because you could bring Rivera in, use him for a couple of innings, you still have Wetland left. So I'm not sure exactly what he's thinking right now.
1-1. Wetland had 4 walks in 4+ innings pitched against Texas in the division series, but generally was effective. Very ineffective last year against Seattle in the playoffs, but he's shaken that off. Came back this year with 43 saves.
How about the job that David Weathers did in that series in Texas, Bob, in that final game? I mean, came in a jam and pitched 3 solid innings. 3 great innings.
Wetland ahead of Parent 1-2. Well, I would call that a less than impressive swing, and Parent goes down.
I have no idea what Bernie Parent was looking for here. That fastball is about 6 feet in the air.
Well, actually, he swung at it like Bernie Parent, the goaltender, but this is Mark Parent, the catcher,
right,
who can't catch
and
up with it.
I beg your pardon.
That would be Bernie Parent.
Parent, you're
close enough, you know. That must have been what you were thinking, right?
Well, each of us had one, Parents.
And some were prouder than others.
That's right.
Well, here's Anderson in a tie game against Wetland.
He couldn't have hit that with a goalie stick.
Bob, maybe because they no longer have the off day, he's changing his pattern with Rivera and Wetland.
Brady Anderson, 50 homers for the year. 1 today, 3 in the postseason already. A ball and a strike.
Another point, Bob. Wetland was warming in the 8th in case they scored. Maybe he just brought him on in simply because he was already warm.
Yankee starters so-so in the playoffs, if that. Relievers, fantastic. 2-1. Now Randy Myers is throwing in the Baltimore bullpen, along with the right-hander Terry Matthews. Pop to the left side. Jeter out from shortstop. Rains in from left. And it falls between them. It falls between them, and Anderson is in at second.
Oh, man.
Oh, that can't happen. Not in a playoff game.
Well, Jeter called the ball. He called it maybe a little too quickly, but Raines, being the outfielder, if you can catch it, you're supposed to come and get it. Now watch right here. You'll see Jeter go. Now watch. He looks back, sees Raines not there. Now he calls it. Now he starts to call it, seeing Raines thinks he's going to catch it, and he gives up. But it's the outfielder's ball if he can make the catch. Raines is supposed to continue on in and get it. They stop, and it drops right between them. Good hustle by Anderson. You see him running the ball out, and he sees it drop, and now he's at second base.
Wow, what a big play.
There have been some strange doings in this game.
Well, Surhoff in the opening inning lost a fly ball in the air that went for a double in left field. And here a ball that should have been caught by either Jeter or Raines drops for a double.
Todd Zeile, who had 99 RBIs this year between the Phillies and the Orioles, but who has struggled of late at the plate in an RBI spot on the ninth. He's 0 for 4 in this game. .217 as you see in the postseason. Fastball high 1-1, and he closed the season just 1 for his last 30. And look who's on deck. He can't seem to avoid the middle of things. It's Alomar. Making Leyritz's glove pop. You can hear it all the way up here, but it misses 2-1. Between Benitez and Rhodes for the Orioles, and Myers still occasionally, and Wetland and Rivera for the Yankees. Some hard throwers out of these bullpens. Zeile lifts one to left center field. Bernie Williams back. Calling shy of the track for the catch. That's the second out. Anderson back to second. Tonight on NBC, all new must-see TV comedy. First, Wings, with the gang trapped in a wild singles party by a hurricane. Can't be much wilder than this ball game. Then an all-new episode of the John Larroquette Show. Special guest Ray Charles tonight at 8, 7 Central on NBC. The last game the Orioles played, Alomar tied it with a single in the ninth. Won it with a homer in the 12th. Both off Jose Mesa. Faces Wetland. And takes ball one. First base open, but Palmeiro on deck. 2 balls and no strikes. The situation with John Hirschbeck was not the first time that Roberto Alomar had a run-in with an umpire. The guy down the right field line, Richie Garcia, involved in controversy today, was in the middle of something a year ago with Alomar when Roberto threw his glove at him from the dugout. Wound up serving a 1-game suspension for that. 3-0.
Well, I think Wetland is overthrowing here because he knows that he can't give in to Alomar and give him a fastball in the middle of the plate. But you definitely do not want to face Rafael Palmeiro unless you have to.
Alomar thought he had the walk, but Larry Barnett calls it a strike.
The other thing with Alomar, Joe, you know, he's not embarrassed at all to go the other way from time to time. When you keep throwing him out there, he'll go that way. He'll go the opposite field on you. Last fastball right on the corner.
swings and misses, and the count is full.
Now here's the situation where you might see Wetland go to that splitter, the breaking ball, taking Alomar 3-2.
Everyone on their feet at Yankee Stadium. And he strikes him out. Wetland fans 2 in the ninth. Yankees come up with a chance to win it.
NBC's coverage of today's American League Championship Series is brought to you by Chevrolet Trucks, the most dependable, longest-lasting trucks on the road. By Nicoderm CQ Patch. You bring a commitment, Nicoderm CQ brings the rest. By Priority Mail from the U.S. Postal Service. And by Honey Frosted Wheaties. Try Honey Frosted Wheaties, the frosted flake with sweet energy.
As we go to the bottom of the ninth, Derek Jeter talking about that mishap in shallow left when he and Tim Raines let a playable ball drop between them. Don Zimmer and Joe Torre listening intently.
Well, Don Zimmer is a former infielder, so he knows how the play is supposed to go. And it was not Jeter's fault.
Terry Matthews out of the bullpen. Acquired in August from Florida. Cecil Fielder, the first man to face him. Matthews has also been with Texas. He turned 32 4 days ago. Strawberry on deck. Well, the question, as the postseason began around New York, at least one of the questions, who should be the Yankee DH, Fielder or Strawberry? They're both coming up here in the ninth. 3-0. Obviously, this guy can end the game with one swing. Do you give him the green light?
No. And I'm sure Joe Torre will not, because they've manufactured runs over the course of the season. They want to give themselves their best shot of winning this ball game.
The 3-0 pitch walked him on 4 pitches. And let's see if they bring in a pinch runner for Fielder.
Now, if you're going to play the way Joe Torre plays or has played baseball all year, you're going to see the pinch runner. Cecil Fielder thinks so.
Yeah. Hey, he hopes so. He went out and made a right turn. I guess so. He said, Joe, come get me.
And Andy Fox comes on. His role is pretty much restricted to pinch running duties.
Well, that's Raines talking to Zimmer, and Zimmer's probably said to him, it's your ball. If you can get it, come get it. And that's exactly what he's saying.
And especially with a veteran outfielder, Joe, it's his call.
Strawberry, who walked with the bases loaded, swings and misses.
You can't ask Strawberry to bunt because he's probably never bunted in his career. So he tries to end it with this big swing. He's just a little tardy on that. But remember, he hasn't played in about 8 days. So he has not had any at-bats against live pitching.
He was the starting DH in Game 1 of the division series. Stranded 4 runners, and then they went to Fielder, who came through. And Torre just stuck with Fielder. Duncan on deck. Bottom of the ninth, 4-4 game. The 0-1 pitch. A ball and a strike to Strawberry. Fox pinch running for Cecil Fielder, who opened the inning with a walk, is at first. Two balls and a strike.
Jeter and Raines were talking about the play, and he's saying, Raines again is saying, hey, don't worry about it. I'll take it from now on.
Matthews to Strawberry. Fox running. Strawberry with a fly ball to left center field. Back goes Anderson. The ball carrying Anderson to the track. Makes the catch, and Fox back to first.
He just missed that ball. I mean, he got it up so high that he got a little wind help, but he was just a little tardy on it. If he could have gotten around on that ball, it's out of here. Now watch, you'll see his bat just a little late right there. He gets under it, but he's still not sure because he's so strong and he knows he doesn't have to get all of it. Brady Anderson on the run. This is a fine play. He takes a peek over to make sure that he's by himself, and he makes the play because Deveraux was coming into the play as well.
399 feet to the wall in left center. Not nearly as far as it used to be, but still more room than in most parks. Now Duncan. Fox was running on that last pitch to Strawberry.
Duncan is a good guy to hit and run on, so if you can get the count in your favor where you want it, you can go ahead and try to put Fox in motion because you need a hit and run to try to get the runner over to third with less than 2 outs.
Duncan fouls it off.
Well, I tell you, if it's close with this guy, he's hacking, isn't he? That's what I like about him, Joe. I mean, you know, he's not one of these guys that's going to go up there and take. If it's close, he's hacking. If he can move a guy, he's going to try to move him. He doesn't do it all the time, but if he can take a shot to right field, he does.
And he hit 340 doing this.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like too many baseball players to count, Mariano Duncan is from San Pedro de Macorís in the Dominican Republic.
And their standard line is you can't walk off that island. You got to hit your way off.
Yeah. Boy, would I be
stuck. You'd be as stranded as Gilligan and his pals.
Oh, geez.
You'd be dropping a note in a bottle for the rest of your life.
I didn't even make the school bus. Oh.
Matthews 0-1 pitch coming to Duncan. In the air to right. Tarasco over toward the line into foul ground leaping. And now he complains again that a fan touches it. And I doubt that he's going to get any satisfaction this time.
Richie Garcia's having his problems tonight. Bob, he started pointing right away, though. When Tarasco gets to this area, Richie Garcia is already pointing that ball is in the stand. Again, that's a close play again. I'll tell you what, he may have had a chance to catch that one, too.
Tarasco has packed a whole series worth of excitement into a couple of innings since entering the game.
This is going to be a very short argument. Andy Etchebarren. Andy Etchebarren, who has taken over for Davey Johnson, who was ejected. And hopefully you just didn't join us. Controversial home run call. Andy Etchebarren now asking for an explanation. Why? And again, it looks like Tarasco had a chance to catch this ball. Richie Garcia, again, is right there. He's right on the line. There you see it. I'll tell you what, that ball probably was in the park again.
Well, the question here, though, is did anyone actually touch it? Did any fan actually touch it?
Oh, I think they touched it.
See, I'm not sure they touched it, so it's very difficult to make that call. I mean, I know they were reaching for it.
I think it's that mayor's cousin.
The count is 0-2, and Duncan gets plunked.
Well, that's what you call taking one for the team. That's not a bad time to take it.
Not at all.
No balls and 2 strikes. Now you move the winning run into scoring position. All Duncan does is he can't get out of the way. He just turns his back, and he takes this one in the back. Watch, he just turns and gets him right in the back. But
Terry Matthews on the 0-2 pitch in the 9th inning, the last thing he had in mind, I mean, not even thinking about moving him off the plate, it just gets away.
Well, Duncan a couple of times, Bob, has taken pitches outside or around the outside corner and driven him into right field. And I mean, you're trying to keep him honest. I know you don't want to go in that tight, but you're trying to keep him honest. It got him, it looks like, in the back of the bicep. And trying to keep him honest, you got to come inside. He just came in too far.
Well, now as they tend to Duncan, Matthews thinking, what a fine mess I've gotten myself into. First by walking Fielder on 4 pitches. And then, after Strawberry flies out, he hits Duncan with the 0-2 pitch. Mike Aldretti, just activated for this series, veteran left-handed pinch hitter, has been announced for the Yanks, and Myers is coming on for the Orioles. Joe Torre with his right-hand man, Popeye, Don Zimmer.
And Don Zimmer's always talking to Joe Torre about moves he should make. And Joe listens to him quite honestly. They talk about it, and then they make a move.
Well, they knew that if they sent Aldretti up, in all likelihood, Matthews would be removed, and Etchebarren, now managing since Davey Johnson was ejected, would go to the veteran left-hander Myers. In anticipation of that, they bring Girardi off the bench, which accomplishes 2 things. They get the right-handed bat in there, and if they don't win it here and the game is prolonged, Girardi stays in to catch, since this was Leyritz's spot originally in the order.
But the one thing to remember, you start running out of players, and if this ball game goes in the extra innings and you're out of players, it could hurt you later on.
Well, the Yankees have only Luis Sojo left on the bench right now.
Who becomes their next catcher if something happens to Girardi.
The only plus is that Myers has been a little erratic.
Girardi at the plate against Myers, 4 for 11, lifetime against him. A line drive caught by Ripken. A flip into Alomar behind for the double play. Fox with a pinch runner's nightmare. He's doubled off on the line drive DP. Extra innings in the Bronx.
Well, the Yankees came close to ending this ball game. Girardi hits a line drive, but Ripken positioned well, takes 2 steps, and that 6'5" frame helps him there. He turns, and Roberto Alomar is there. Let's take another look at it. Now watch, if he's not so tall, they talk about him being too tall to be a shortstop. This helps him in this situation. And just a nice play by he and Alomar together. Now watch, what was the runner doing all this time? Now watch, he's trying to score the winning run, but what he does, he crosses his feet. Once you do that right there, you're in trouble. You got to start sliding backwards, not crossing over, and he wasn't able to get back in time. But it's hard to fault him because he wants to score the winning run on that base hit, and it was a nice play made by Ripken.
You're right, Joe. I mean, it's one of those plays where you're caught in between, and you may not score anyway, even if the ball goes through, because you do have to hold up.
Well, Mariano Rivera comes on. The first man he faces is Rafael Palmeiro, a homer, a single, and 2 walks. In 107 2/3 innings of work out of the Yankee bullpen this year, Mariano Rivera, in this, the year of the home run, especially in the American League, allowed only 1 home run. But this is the guy who hit it, Rafael Palmeiro.
Well, I guarantee he tried to get a fastball by him on the inside, and you can't do that. You see they're staying away right now.
And he whistles it through the middle for a leadoff hit. The Orioles are about the only team that had much success at all this year against Rivera. Against Baltimore this year, he's 1-2. That's 2 of his 3 losses for the year, with an ERA of almost 6. Against the rest of the American League, he's 7-1 with an ERA of 1.7.
Now here's that last fastball from Rivera, and Palmeiro laced it right back through the middle. Tell you what, if he gets any elevation on this thing, he might have really done something with it, because he hit it awfully hard.
Well, now the hitter is Tony Tarasco. For the first time, he's in Bobby Bonilla's spot in the order. Let's see if they look to sacrifice. The Orioles are the only team in the American League that twice scored more than 1 run in a game off Mariano Rivera.
Tough thing about Rivera, it's not easy to bunt his pitches.
Carrasco squares and takes a strike. Apparently, Joe Torre's thinking in reversing the usual order and in a tie game, usually he'd bring Wetland in with the lead, is that if the game was to be prolonged, Rivera could pitch 2 or 3 innings more readily than Wetland. So he went to Wetland in the 9th, hoping the Yankees could win it in the bottom half. They threatened to do so, but weren't able to push the run across. And now it's Rivera for who knows how long. Squaring again and bunting it foul. 0-2.
One thing you've got to do against a guy like Rivera, or any hard thrower, I mean, if you're going to sacrifice, everybody in the ballpark has to know it. You got to square yourself up and make sure you're turned around, and which he seems like he does there. But you notice the angle of the bat is back toward the on-deck circle instead of squared around.
Ripken is on deck. Palmero, who's 3 for 3 with 2 walks, is at first. Top half of the 10th, tied at 4. Each team has 9 hits. The Yankees have left 13 men on base. The Orioles have stranded 8. And a called strike 3.
When a guy throws as hard as Rivera does, you do not expect him to paint the outside corner with a fastball. I mean, this is a perfect pitch right on the outside corner. And when the guy's throwing as hard as he does, you expect him to try to get the ball in the middle of the plate. That's not in the middle of the plate. It's out there. Watch where this pitch is. Right out there on the corner. Even though you see Girardi try to pull it in a little bit more, right out there on the edge.
Looked like Carrasco thought that ball might have been a little high, Joe, too.
And there's a ball to Ripken. Doubled, struck out, singled, grounded out. One on, one out in the 10th. Mariano Rivera, not technically the closer. It was Wetland who had 43 saves. He will get Cy Young votes, and he will get MVP votes as well.
And he deserves some votes for each.
Foul back. A lot of people thought it was an outrage when he did not make the All-Star team. In this era in baseball, when there are so few complete games thrown, and where closers generally work only the 9th and only with a lead, postseason may be an exception, as witnessed Wetland in this ball game, to have a great setup man, not really a middleman. We're not talking about mop-up innings. We're talking about a setup man who can get you to where you can put the clincher on the win in the 9th is so important. And the Yankees have the best combination in baseball in Rivera and Wetland. Pop back and out of play. There are only a handful of closers as good as Wetland, and none of those closers have a setup man like Rivera.
Well, the other thing, too, Bob, when Wetland went on the DL at the end of the season, or prior to the end of the year, and Joe Torre stuck this guy in the closer's role, he was dominating there, too.
Roberto Alomar lounging in the dugout in an otherwise tense situation. Zeal and Anderson. Wonder where Davey Johnson is watching this from.
From the tunnel.
From the tunnel where he can shout instructions to Etchebarren?
Absolutely.
Or from the clubhouse where he can enjoy your commentary, Uke?
Well, he may be in the clubhouse shouting loud enough where Etchebarren can hear him from there, too.
The 1-2 pitch. 2-2. Mariano Rivera is 26 years old. He's from Panama City, Panama. And there aren't many who throw as hard as he does. Lots of guys can get it up over 90. He's around 96, 97, at least for an inning or two at a time. He jams Ripken, a little pop, wide of third. Boggs and Girardi have no play.
And you can see they made a conscious effort to throw his fastball inside to Ripken. Now watch the setup. You'll watch where Girardi goes. Watch, he sets up inside and he gets the fastball inside. Ripken able to foul it off. Again, on the inside part of the plate, off the plate inside actually, but Rifkin swings at it because he has 2 strikes.
Eddie Murray will be next. And a pop on the right side. Martinez and Duncan. Martinez, the first baseman, for the second out. It's 8 o'clock Eastern time, and those of you just tuning in now, expecting to see NBC's Wednesday night lineup, including Wings and the John Larroquette Show, hold on. We're in extra innings, game 1 of the League Championship Series. We will get to those shows as soon as this ball game is over, and you will see them in their entirety. Bob Costas along with Bob Uecker and Joe Morgan at Yankee Stadium. The Orioles 4 and the Yankees 4 as Baltimore bats in the 10th. Rafael Palmeiro at first with 2 out. And the hitter is Eddie Murray, who's 0 for 3 with a walk.
These are great matchups. I mean, when you've got a guy like Rivera, you're blessed to have this kind of a guy on your staff who can just reach back. Everybody in the ballpark, including the hitter, knows he's coming with heat. You're sitting on heat, and he still throws it by you. And again, Joe, we've seen this guy do it many times before, Eddie Murray. If he looks for one and gets it in the right zone, it's a problem.
But he's behind Rivera 0-2. Palmeiro doesn't steal many, but he picks his spots well. 9 for 9 this year. The 0-2 to Murray. Misses. Or maybe he didn't miss. Maybe that's exactly where he wanted to throw it, and see if Eddie would chase it on 0-2.
I think this is a waste pitch, and you can see it's far outside. But I think if he wants to get Eddie out, he can a high fastball up a little bit, and Eddie seems to chase that pitch more now than ever before. That one right there. This one's not quite as high as he wanted it. You can see the glove. It's up there, but probably 2 or 3 inches lower than he actually wanted it to be. But when you're throwing 90-plus miles an hour from 60 feet 6 inches, and you only miss by 2 inches, pretty good job.
Pat on the back. Yeah.
Yeah.
Another 1-2 pitch, and a check swing foul this time.
Again, Mariano Rivera up and in on Murray. That may have been a strike if he doesn't go after it. That may have been a strikeout pitch. Check swing foul.
Once again, the slender right-hander works on 1-2. But first, he'll chase Palmeiro back.
And you can see Eddie Murray calling timeout, timeout. And home plate umpire was Larry Barnett was going to give it to him. Now watch Eddie. He's yelling timeout, timeout. He doesn't want that pitch. Very dangerous to try to do that with 2 strikes because you only request timeout. If the umpire doesn't want to give it to you, you're in trouble.
Two and two. October baseball. It's different. 2-2 pitch lined into center. There's a base hit. Stopping at second is Palmeiro.
This is one of the great clutch hitters of all time.
You're right.
Eddie Murray.
He fights off the tough pitches, the high fastballs. Now he gets one that's down a little bit. So if you get it down, he can still handle that fastball, that 90-mile-an-hour fastball. It's up that he has the problems. And he fought off the high ones, the tough ones, and got the one that he could handle.
It's a heck of an at-bat.
You're right.
Down 0-2 and seemingly unable to catch up with the heat, and he just hangs with it and gets a pitch he can handle and delivers the 2-out hit.
You don't have 3,000-plus hits and 500 home runs not knowing what you're doing in the batter's box.
Devereaux for his first at-bat replaced Surhoff in left. And as many fans know, only 2 other players can make that claim. 3,000-plus hits, 500-plus home runs. 2 of the greatest in history, Hank Aaron and Willie Mays. And while Eddie Murray isn't quite in their class, he is bound for the Hall of Fame. Devereaux fouls it back.
Here's another guy came into the game as a defensive replacement, coming up here for the first time to hit, Joe, and you're going up against a guy like Rivera who's throwing that 90-plus on you.
Devereaux's a pretty good fastball hitter. He doesn't handle a breaking ball real well, but he can handle some fastballs.
A ball and a strike. Devereaux last year was with the world champion Atlanta Braves. In fact, if memory serves, well, there it is. I don't have to rely on memory. He was the surprise MVP of the NLCS against Cincinnati. Couldn't catch up with that.
From a hitter's perspective, you have to say in your own mind, if the ball starts this high, I can't swing at it. You have to have a zone because you can't hit that high fastball.
You got to turn that dial up a notch or two when you see a fastball like that. The 1-2 pitch. And he spoils it.
Hey, you can swing balsa would not catch up to some of those fastballs.
This game is now exactly 4 hours old. These 2 clubs have played some marathons this year. The first game they played against each other, April 30th in Baltimore, was the longest 9-inning game in Major League history. 4 hours and 21 minutes, and the Yankees won 13-10. Andy Pettitte was the starter in that game, one of his worst outings ever. Gave up 9 runs in barely more than an inning. Wasn't involved in the decision. They brought him back the next day for 3 innings of relief, and he got the victory in a 15-inning game the next night. So marathons between these 2 clubs are nothing new.
That's Jose Cardinal talking to him, telling him you did a good job.
Seems a long time ago now. A check swing foul, and it holds at 1-2. The starters were Pettitte and Erickson. Pettitte was so-so. Erickson was very effective. Neither will be involved in the decision, obviously. We're in the 10th, tied at 4. Andy Etchebarren is managing this club now. Davey Johnson was tossed on a bizarre play, a disputed call in right field. A bouncing ball to the right side. Duncan from the outfield grass gets Devereaux to the bottom of the 10th. The 4-all tie preserved. Derek Jeter's 3 for 4, and here's the reason why. We're in extra innings with 1 out in the 8th. A drive to the opposite field. Tony Tarasco just in the game for Bobby Bonilla and right. Thinks he's going to catch it, and a young fan reaches out and sort of scoops it back into the stands, but Richie Garcia, the right field umpire, didn't see it that way, called it a home run. Could have called interference.
You know, Bob, when you see that play in regular speed, it's not as easy to call.
It never is.
Right, but I mean, that's a good, I mean, that, so it wasn't as easy as it looked, appeared on in slow motion.
Jeter 2 singles, the homer, and a stolen base. Watch it now in slow motion.
Even the glove that youngster's wearing, I think he's got a black glove on. And it's really hard to see. Well, there he is. Yeah, he did have a black glove on, but he stuck his arm out 2 feet over the fence to make the grab.
1-1 pitch from Randy Myers.
A bouncing ball, which Alomar dives to stop, but he has no play, and there's Jeter's 4th hit.
Well, Alomar is playing Jeter toward right field, so he has a long way to go. This ball's not really up the middle, it's just right center, but he was playing him so far around that he had no chance of getting Jeter. Once he goes to his right, see how far he was over toward right field. He makes a dive, stops it, but the speedy Jeter beats it out easily. Nice play again by Alomar, but I think the positioning, he was just a little bit too far toward right field.
Now Raines, who's 2 for 5.
I think he will definitely be up there bunting.
Squares, once foul. Willie Randolph, the coach at third, flashing the signs. Joe Torre always outwardly calm, but you know he's churning inside. What a fabulous job he's done with this team. That's a called strike, 0-2. Now is the bunt removed?
That was a smart pitch there by Randy Myers. He felt like Raines was looking for a fastball, so he throws him a curveball. And it starts up, and you do not want to bunt a pitch that's up. Now watch, it starts up. Tim goes up after it, and then he realizes it's a breaking ball, and it's strike 2. I think you take the bunt off.
I agree with you, Joe.
Raines is a pretty good hitter. We saw in the Texas series. He can get, you know, clutch base hits. It was he and Jeter in the Texas series and that got him going there in the late innings.
Zeal is still on the grass at third. The 0-2 pitch is bounced to Zeal. He flags it down, pegs to Alomar on to first. Palmeiro stays on the bag for the double play. Torre's going to argue that Palmeiro was off the bag.
And he may have a pretty good argument.
And it happens a lot of times. There are a lot of first basemen. I don't think they're on the bag when they catch the ball. And if you do it that way all the time, nobody ever checks it. Nobody ever bothers. Here it is again. Little bouncer to Zeal at third. The force at second. Plenty of time there for Jeter. And Alomar's throw nails Raines, and let's see if Palmeiro came off the bag. May have, couldn't see from that angle if he held the bag or not. He looked like he had it.
And a strike to Boggs, who hit .311 for the year, but just over .260 against left-handed pitching, and had only 7 extra base hits against southpaws all season.
Well, you know, when you have a guy up there like Raines, Joe, who fundamentally does things pretty well and fails to sacrifice in a situation like this, you're in the 10th inning, you get the leadoff guy on, and it's a must. You've got to get him over. And he missed one sacrifice bunt attempt and then took a breaking ball for a strike on the outside and then goes out on a ground out.
Well, I'm wondering if he was questioning about his leg because, you know, Tim runs pretty well, and he was wondering maybe if he wasn't running full speed down the line, and therefore if he can't run, he needs to come out of the ball game. But I've seen several times this year where Raines has dropped down a bunt, you know, in that situation to move the runner along. And then I also saw one game where he beat it out for a base hit and Wade Boggs bunted. So they've been doing this the entire season, so I don't think there's anything unusual about being asked to bunt, especially in this type of situation.
Oh, no, not that he was asked to bunt, but he took the breaking ball for a strike in his second attempt to try and bunt.
Right.
And now Boggs will be 0 for his last 16 since opening the postseason with a double against Texas. He's hitless, including 0 for 5 with a walk this afternoon and into the night. On to the 11th, tied at 4. We go to the 11th, and the Goodyear blimp still hovers above. Captained by Richard Daniels, and we thank all of them for their efforts. Upstairs, he and his crew, and a swing and a miss by Mark Parent.
My ride to Baltimore tomorrow night. I'm going. Where do they put that thing down around here? Do you know? I'm sure it's going to be easy to see.
I guarantee you they don't land it at LaGuardia. Parent, the catcher, starting the 11th. He's 1 for 4 for the afternoon and evening. And down he goes.
I got to tell you something. He struck out back in the 9th on a fastball about helmet high. Girardi put the target up there again for Rivera. And Mark Parent chased it again. Here it is again. Watch this fastball. Right up around the bill of the cap. If you're looking fastball, why not go for it? That's what I say.
Well, you know, to catch up with Rivera, you have to start your swing so early that maybe you can't be so selective. He starts to crank it up when it leaves Rivera's hand.
See, I never would chase a pitch like that. I always thought it looked better to be called out on strikes.
And then argue.
Yeah, then you say,
yeah.
You walk by the umpire, you argue a little bit, and you walk by the umpire and you whisper, nice call.
Brady Anderson, homered earlier. 2-0 the count to him. He's 2 for 4. Plus a walk. Had that bloop double, which shouldn't have been. Jeter and Raines let it drop between them in the 9th. Sounded like a broken bat. Duncan takes care of Anderson, out number 2 in the 11th. You know, folks, if you tuned in tonight to see Wings, you're getting instead the Birds of Baltimore. Time permitting, though, you will see Wings. I'm getting all this information as we go along. Game 2 of this series, we know for sure, tomorrow at 3 o'clock Eastern Time.
And we'll be here for it?
We may just be able to stay.
I have no problem with it.
Catch a quick nap when this one's over and right back out here. Todd Zeile, 2 out, nobody on.
A little change of undergarments, no problem. You change with Joe, I'll change with you.
You know, I think we're getting a bit too much information here. I'm not so sure America craves this info. That's out of play. Obviously, Joe, you have to play it in the postseason differently than in the middle of the season. But now, especially without an off day. Right. If this game goes 14, 15 innings, and who knows how many innings Torrey lets Rivera pitch, then maybe he's not available tomorrow. Changes a lot of things strategically.
Well, I think the longer this game goes, the more it helps Baltimore in the future. And the fact that the off day was rained out tomorrow also helps them because, again, you know, if you use Rivera today, you can't use him. You're not going to have any off days to rest him.
Zeile hangs in on 1 and 2. Rocky Coppinger, the rookie, who's supposed to be the number 4 starter, is now throwing in the bullpen. And when you get to this stage of the game, for 2 reasons. 1, because obviously you used a lot of guys up already. But 2, because you want a long reliever or a starter who can stay in for an extended period. You start getting the guys like Coppinger. 2 and 2.
Rivera wanted that pitch. Girardi wanted that pitch, but he didn't get it because of the way he caught it. He caught the ball moving out of the strike zone.
Rivera seldom pitches more than 2 innings. If he gets Zeile or gets out of the inning in one fashion or another, that would be 2 innings. Myers, who rarely pitches more than 1 inning, has worked an inning in 2/3. Full count.
You know, Joe, a lot of times as a catcher, when you set the target, and if you leave the target there too long, especially with a guy like this who throws so hard, it makes you snatch at the ball.
Hit through the box and into center field for a 2-out single. it was in the 12th that Alomar won Game 4 of the division series at Jacobs Field with a homer off Mesa. And a situation where, with the game on the line, Mike Hargrove had to let his closer just keep on going deep into the game, and eventually you lose a little something off those pitches. It's not quite to that point yet with Rivera, hoping to finish up his second inning. Alomar's 1 for 5. Just too much heat. 0-1.
Now, Bob, you talked about Rivera working here. As you look at Alomar take a hack at that last fastball, it may have been out of the strike zone. With 2 outs, Joe Torre has got activity in the bullpen. David Weathers is up out there.
Foul back 0-2. And Weathers, he's got a guy who could give him 3 innings. If this turns into a marathon. Maybe more than that, but certainly he could pitch 3.
"36 pitches now for Rivera.
And it's 0-2 to Roberto Alomar. Up and in 1-2. One thing that helps, at least a little bit, for both these teams, they both won in 4 rather than 5. And then with a rain out yesterday, not so much for the starters, but for the relievers, it's a couple of extra days without having to throw, at least not in competition. Two and 2, but now the first 5 games of this series will be played without an off day. Assuming there is no further foul weather, and assuming the series goes as far as 6, there would be an off day Monday for a trip back from Baltimore between games 5 and 6. Full count now.
You know, you're right in talking about Rivera here a moment ago, Joe. It looks like he may start to get tired now. He's starting to get upstairs a little bit on Alomar. Alomar chased a high fastball the first pitch he threw him, and now he's starting to really get upstairs.
The runner goes on the 3-2 pitch, and Alomar went around. It might have been out of the strike zone, but he couldn't stop himself. Onto the bottom of the 11th.
Their bullpen now.
Rivera's 3rd strikeout in 2 innings of work. Way up high, but Alomar committed himself on the 3-2 pitch, and Larry Barnett says you're gone. So Robbie is 1 for 6 in the extra inning game. And it's Bernie Williams, Tino Martinez, and Andy Fox, who occupies the DH spot after running for Cecil Fielder in the bottom of the 11th. Williams is 1 for 3 with a couple of walks thrown in, plus an RBI ground out. Switch hitter turned around to the right side against Myers. In case you're just joining us, as we noted earlier, this is Williams' power side. 2 of his 3 home runs in the division series were hit right-handed, and 16 of his 29 for the season were hit right-handed. And as you see, his batting average more than 100 points higher. And here's a drive to left. It's mighty high. It's mighty far. And good night.
a high breaking ball from Randy Myers. He goes up and gets it. As soon as he hits it, he knows it's gone. This goes into the upper deck. So you see, he knows right away that this ball game is over. A high hanging breaking ball from Randy Myers. And again, this ball is into the upper deck, so that's why he knew it was gone. Second deck, actually.
Well, his teammates react to his 4th home run in 5 postseason games. The Yankees come from behind and win it 5-4 in 11. A disputed game it will be because the Jeter homer in the 8th that tied it was very controversial. It looked like a blown call. But the Yankees take the 1-0 lead. For Joe Morgan and Bob Uecker, I'm Bob Costas. See you tomorrow afternoon from the Bronx.